Chapter 26. As the tiger birth pill entered his throat, it instantly transformed into a majestic energy that surged into his body. The energy that was released at this moment transformed into a roaring tiger that continuously surged into Li Zhongjiu's body, smashing apart all the blockages in his meridians. The Heaven Void God image record circulated within his body. After releasing the energy from every meridian point in his body, Li Zhongjiu began to collect the Yuan power. The Yuan power continuously surged into his Dantian. Before breaking through to the Origin Master Realm, the Yuan power stored in the Dantian was in a disorganized state. The most obvious sign of breaking through to the Origin Master Realm was to condense the Yuan power into an Origin bead. Once the Origin bead was successfully condensed, it would be considered as successfully advancing to the Origin Master Realm. Within Li Zhongjiu's body, Yuan power surged like a tidal wave, continuously gushing towards his Dantian. If it was a newbie who had just made a breakthrough, he would definitely be scared witless by such an enormous amount of Yuan power. He would even need an expert to guide him in order to succeed. However, for Li Zhongjiu, this amount of Yuan power was nothing. Very familiarly, he compressed all the Yuan power into his body and gradually condensed it into a crystal-clear origin bead. However, this newly formed origin bead seemed to be somewhat unstable. It seemed as if it would become loose at any moment. Why is my origin bead like this? Li Zhongjiu felt the changes in his origin bead. How could this be? The great evil lord, actually become like this? Very quickly, a mysterious energy suddenly emerged from Li Zhongjiu's body and continuously surged into his Dantian. Li Zhongjiu's aura instantly became chaotic.
Boom. Shit.
This sudden surge of energy instantly broke the balance in Li Zhongjiu's body. Roar. Dragon soul. The first thing that emerged was a blood-colored dragon soul. If you want this dragon soul to be your innate origin spirit, you must merge it into your origin bead. Li Zhongjiu, who was well-versed in this field, had a sharp look in his eyes. I was able to kill all of you in my previous life, and I can do the same in this life. Li Zhongjiu's body trembled violently, while the Yuan power in his body roared like a torrential flood. In the blink of an eye, it carried an earth-shattering aura as it surged towards the dragon's soul power. Rumble. The surging and boiling power directly shattered the blood dragon soul. At this moment, the origin bead displayed its devouring power and absorbed the fragmented blood dragon soul. Then, the white dragon soul appeared. The golden dragon soul appeared. All of them were crushed by Li Zhongjiu and absorbed into the origin bead. 3 innate original spirits. Even for Li Zhongjiu, it was his first time encountering such a situation. When the golden dragon soul was absorbed by Li Zhongjiu's elemental pearl, a will suddenly poured into Li Zhongjiu's mind. This is the Golden Dragon Clan's body-tempering origin formula. Ancient golden tyrannical body art. After refining the golden dragon soul, he obtained a body-tempering origin formula that came with the golden dragon soul. This was definitely a pleasant surprise for Li Zhongjiu. Now that I have merged with 3 dragon souls, if I want to break through in the future, the amount of Yuan power I need will be 3 or even 4 times that of other cultivators. Li Zhongjiu thought to himself. Although this wasn't a small trouble, the benefits were even greater. Just this ancient golden body scripture was already a great harvest. No wonder the strength of the golden dragon race was so strong. How could they not be strong after practicing such an overbearing elemental scripture? There were 3 dragon runes in the origin bead. Li Zhongjiu carefully observed the origin bead, but found that the 3 dragon runes did not occupy the entire origin bead. There seemed to be a gap that the other dragon souls did not dare to approach. The size of the origin bead was related to the speed of its growth in the future. There was such a large space, but these dragon runes were unwilling to move over. This made Li Zhongjiu puzzled. However, it was his first time encountering this innate original spirit, so Li Zhongjiu did not bother about it. The weather was getting colder and colder. Li Zhongjiu reviewed the contents of the ancient golden tyrannical body art. In summary, there was only one way. It was thoroughly tempered. This origin formula, is amazing. When fighting, it can actually absorb damage. Li Zongjiu was also surprised. He recalled that in his previous life, when he killed the Golden Dragon clan sovereign, he had indeed exhausted a lot of energy. This was because the Golden Dragon clan sovereign was simply too durable. A first-grade origin master. Such a weak force, I'm really not used to it. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. During this period of time, Wuxia City could be said to be incomparably lively. Everyone had heard that this extremely unequal contest was about to take place. The idiotic young master of the Li family actually wanted to challenge an alchemist from the northern medicine city in the alchemy square of Wuxia City. And the most bizarre thing was that the wager of this challenge was the legendary pill formula of a third-grade medicinal pill. This kind of priceless thing could only be taken out by the Li family. The Li family seemed to have tacitly agreed to this wager and did not issue any statement to deny it. Moreover, those who had a little eyesight also felt that there seemed to be an unusual wind blowing in Wuxia City. Most of the Li family's businesses seemed to have entered a state of reorganization at this time, and the defensive forces below were also gradually gathering. This was obviously the intention of a fight. The people of the Sun family had arrived early. In the important seat of the Sun family, there was a sloppy person, which was surprising. Sitting next to him was the generation's master, Wang Lu. The other two clans, the Bai family and Gu family, had sent important figures to watch the show as well. Today seemed to be a reshuffling of the cards, so the other two clans were paying extremely close attention. On the seat of the Bai family was a white-clothed young woman with a cold appearance, and her gaze revealed a slightly dangerous aura. The number one auction house of the Bai family's Bai Family Trading Company in Wuxia City was managed by this young woman, Bai Luoxia. She was young and promising, and her bearing was even fascinating. Under Bai Luoxia's management, the Bai family's auction house's performance rose with each passing day, and it was managed in an orderly manner. This is slightly interesting. Didn't that kid Li Zongjiu not even know the difference between poison and medicinal herbs? He actually has such courage? Could it be that the Li family has taken the wrong medicine? Bai Luoxia raised her snow-white chin while her eyes revealed a slightly arrogant expression. In this city, only the genius young woman in alchemy from the Li family, Li Yun, could compare with her. However, in Bai Luoxia's eyes, this Li Yun was simply not worth being afraid of. Li Zongjiu coming out to create some news, and it was such a big piece of news, which made Bai Luoxia extremely curious, so she also came here early in the morning. After all, Li Zongjiu did not matter, but if the medicinal pills refined by Master Wang Lu were to be auctioned by the Bai family in the end, it would definitely be a very good gimmick. Of course, she was very willing to do such a thing. Why haven't the people of the Li family arrived yet? Could it be that they are afraid? Chapter 27. It wasn't just the outsiders who were guessing why the Li family hadn't arrived yet. Even the Li family members were urging them to come. Li Yun slammed Li Zongjiu's door until it broke, but she didn't hear any sound from inside. Could it be that this brat slipped away in the middle of the night? The more Li Yun thought about it, the more likely it was. She immediately prepared to break the door open. Twigly Zongjiu opened the door and looked at Li Yun, who was about to kick him, and yawned. "Cousin, you are the ambassador of our Li family.
How could you do such a thing?"
Li Zongjiu joked. "You still dare to say that? Our Li family members don't dare to go out now. My father is already waiting for you. Everyone in the Alchemy Plaza is waiting for you. Are you afraid?" A few days ago, Li Zongjiu saved a batch of pills and helped them refine a mid-grade second-grade pill. Judging from this, Li Zongjiu definitely had some skills. But when it came to this brat actually dropped the ball. Why did Li Zongjiu look like he just woke up? Afraid? What's there to be afraid of? Wait, I'll wash up and have breakfast before leaving. As Li Zongjiu spoke, he began to wash his face leisurely. He then asked for a bowl of pickled vegetable porridge from the kitchen and slowly drank it. It's so hot. As he ate, he couldn't help but blow at it. No matter what he did, Li Zongjiu's movements seemed to be twice as slow as usual. Moreover, his unhurried expression made anyone who saw him want to beat him up. Li Juyen and the others were already waiting in the main hall. Li Gui gathered hundreds of guards. Li Tianqing didn't appear, and the only elder accompanying him was Li Juyen. It seemed that most of the elders pretended not to know about this. No one came to support Li Zongjiu. If these elders didn't do anything, these guards wouldn't be of much use. He had been waiting since early in the morning until noon. Only then did Li Zongjiu slowly appear in the main hall. Everyone is here. Anyway, it's still early. Let's have lunch before we go. Come. Distribute the bowls and eat something before we come. Li Yun originally thought that Li Zongjiu was ready to leave. But when she saw Li Zongjiu's actions and saw the family servants behind him start distributing the bowls and chopsticks to the various guards. "Young master, what are you doing?" When Li Juyen saw Li Zongjiu, he seemed to be trying to stall for time. How long could this delay last? "It's fine. Eat first. You'll only have strength when you're full." Li Zongjiu casually stuffed a bowl into Li Juyen's hand. Looking at the bowl and chopsticks in his hand, he felt that Li Zongjiu's words made sense. On the other side of the Li family, Li Changjiang also sent people to investigate Li Zongjiu's situation. He also gathered the law enforcement team, ready to take action at any time to arrest Li Zongjiu and wait for Li Zongjiu to lose. "What? Eating? Eating lunch?" Li Changjiang almost jumped up when he heard this. "Didn't you make an appointment with someone? You're still leisurely eating your lunch here." Li Zongjiu was also like this. He made everyone in the square wait for half a day. After lunch, he said that he wanted to practice a set of Tai Chi to digest his energy. When it was close to 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when it was the easiest time to feel sleepy, Li Zongjiu led the rest of the Li family disciples and set off majestically. Many of the Li family's alchemy hall disciples also followed in this group. After all, Li Juyen was also personally involved. Moreover, this was a competition that involved alchemy and alchemy. It needed to be taken seriously. Li Baichao looked at Li Zongjiu's figure in the crowd. When he lost to Chang Feng, it was Li Zongjiu's appearance that turned the situation around. Now Li Zongjiu actually directly led people to challenge Chang Feng's master, a real grade 2 alchemist. Let's not talk about the final outcome. Just this kind of courage alone was enough to make ordinary people admire him. "Patriarch, the Li family's people are here." An elder of the Sun family came to pass the message. When he heard that Li Zongjiu was finally here, Sun Jumlei, who was originally sleepy, opened his eyes wide. "Finally, these bastards are here. Today, this Li family must become the history of Wuxia City. Li Zongjiu, if I don't kill you, I, Chang Feng, am not a man." There was another person sitting beside Wang Lu. This was Chang Feng, who was thrown out twice by Li Zongjiu. He was a dignified alchemy genius and an alchemist master. Wherever he went, he would be respected and sought after. However, in front of Li Zongjiu, he was repeatedly humiliated. If it wasn't for Chang Feng's firm will, he would not have been able to endure such humiliation. It was not impossible for him to directly hang himself. At this moment, being able to sit here neatly dressed was already a great challenge. "Brother Chang Feng, you can rest assured. When we take down the Li family, we will definitely use a knife to peel off Li Zongjiu's skin bit by bit," Sun Bin said. As the young master of the Sun family, Sun Bin was qualified to talk to Chang Feng. Moreover, now that they had a common enemy like Li Zongjiu, they became brothers in distress. "Good. That Li Zongjiu will definitely die." Chang Feng's eyes were burning with anger. Mu Yuan was already dozing off on the stool. He was able to come to such a place because of Wang Lu. Otherwise, Mu Yuan would not even be interested in such a small city. As a general-level expert, no matter which city or sect he went to, he would be extremely popular. There was no need for any publicity at all. People did not care about your reputation at all. It's just a matter of living for a few more hours. Bai Luoxue seemed to have foreseen Li Zongjiu's fate. Moreover, she was extremely unhappy that Li Zongjiu had stood them up for so long. Immediately, she included Li Zongjiu in the camp of the losers. Everyone has waited for a long time. A loud laughter sounded. Then, Li Zhongjiu's figure appeared on the alchemy platform. He was wearing a white robe and a pair of azure cloud boots. The corner of his mouth carried a trace of a bewitching evil smile. Wherever his gaze passed, it seemed to give people a piercing pain, as if the tip of a knife was slicing through their eyelids. Since everyone is here, please bear witness to my bet with that Baldi Wanglu. Today, I will compete with that Baldi Wanglu in alchemy. If I lose, my Li family will offer a scroll of third-grade pill recipes. My Li family's elderly Jiuyan will be the guarantor. If that Baldi Wanglu loses, he will strip naked and run around our Wuxia city's Changle Street naked. Baldi Wanglu. Wanglu was not young. His hair was slightly sparse, but it was not to the extent of being called a baldi. Chapter 28. Li Zhongjiu was obviously provoking him by calling him a baldi. He was trying to infuriate him. After hearing Li Zhongjiu's words, Wang Lu also stood up unhurriedly, as if Li Zhongjiu was just a madman who was talking nonsense. He did not put him in his eyes at all. Today, as long as he, Wang Lu, defeated Li Zhongjiu. If the Li family could not hand over the things, then don't blame Wang Lu for being impolite. At that time, Wang Lu would like to see if Li Zhongjiu's mouth would still be so tough. Tell me, how do you want to compete? Wang Lu said very generously, as if he did not care about what Li Zhongjiu had said before. He just wanted the competition to start quickly. After that, he would slowly deal with Li Zhongjiu. The competition method is simple. You and I will share a medicinal cauldron. Whoever can refine pills faster and with higher quality will win,
Li Zhongjiu said.
When such a competition method was announced, everyone's eyes widened. Was Li Zhongjiu here to seek his own death? What made Li Zhongjiu take things so hard that he would use such an extreme method to force himself to death and bring disaster to the entire Li family? When Bai Luoxue heard Li Zhongjiu's words, she was stunned at first. Then, she shook her head in disdain. She thought that this useless young master of the Li family had some fortuitous encounter, or that there was some expert guiding him from behind. That was why he did such a thing. However, since Li Zhongjiu proposed such a suicidal action, no one could help him. Refining pills in this medicinal cauldron. This was a survival of the strong. Whoever had the best alchemy skills would be able to stand out in this medicinal cauldron and become the final winner. This competition was a real competition of skills and methods, and it was also the most direct competition. What both sides had learned would be displayed in this medicinal cauldron. Even the level of flames between them would become a very direct battle. Haha, little kid, I can give you a chance to back out. Think carefully before you decide whether you want to use this method to compete with me. Wang Lu chuckled. At this time, he also showed the appearance of a senior expert. He was clearly mocking Li Zhongjiu. My God, is this kid a traitor sent by the Sun families? When Li Jiuyan and the others arrived and heard Li Zhongjiu's method of competition, they almost collapsed on the ground. They might as well just let it go. Dad, don't be nervous, don't be nervous. Maybe he has a way. Lian quickly went forward and comforted him. Li Zhongjiu had just recovered from a serious illness, and he actually encountered such a situation. The competition could only go on because of Li Jiuyan's guarantee. Now that Li Zhongjiu was defeated, Li Jiuyan would probably have to step down. After all, in the Li family, there were many people who had the ability to refine pills. However, Li Zhongjiu had already said it, and there was no reason to take it back. Sigh. Your dad's reputation will probably be ruined here. Li Jiuyan could not help but sigh. He was sitting in this position. If Li Zhongjiu was really defeated, he might as well directly kill himself on the steps next to him. That way, he would have an explanation. Li Baichao and the other disciples were sitting in the stands, looking at Li Zhongjiu and the others below. They were nervous. Could Li Zhongjiu win? I'm afraid that the idiotic young master of the Li family has already defected. I bet that it won't be long before the Li family sends someone to take the idiotic young master away and admit that this was a mistake. A man beside Bai Luoxue said indifferently. It was as if he was deliberately trying to show off his intelligence in front of Bai Luoxue. Bai Luoxue did not seem to like this man. Before things are clear, anything can happen, Bai Luoxue said slowly. The smile on the man's face froze. A mere piece of trash wants to compete with Wang Lu. He's overestimating himself. If he can win, Bai Jiu can also become a Yuan general expert in the future, the man said disdainfully. Although Bai Luoxue was an extremely promising disciple of the Bai family, she was still a woman after all. It was not a problem for her to be independent. However, if she wanted to control the overall situation, she still needed a man. This was a tradition that had not changed for many years. Therefore, the next generation might be selected from Bai Jiu and the others. Bai Luoxue could not help but look at Bai Jiu. This person's ambition was so low. He was just a Yuan general, and he thought that he had reached his limit. If the Bai family was handed over to someone like Bai Jiu in the future, they probably would not be able to go far. In comparison, although Li Zongjiu was a little retarded, at least he had a certain level of ambition. He knew to look up at the sky and not at his feet. Short-sighted people were destined to not be able to go far in this lifetime. Although he is a little retarded at such a young age, Li Zongjiu did not react in the slightest in the face of the ridicule and disdain of so many people. He seems to ignore the existence of these people. Based on this point alone, if he is nurtured properly, he might become a useful knife in the future. Such a person only needs to be given some symbolic help when he is greatly affected. Bai Luoxue was already thinking about how to subdue Li Zongjiu. If the Li family suffered a great calamity, Li Zongjiu would definitely be abandoned. However, it was still too early to discuss this matter. It was better to see if there were any variables in this match. Although on the surface, everyone knew that Li Zongjiu would definitely lose. However, Bai Luoxue still felt that there was a trace of unusualness in this. If I still need to consider compared to you, then I, Li Zongjiu, am too useless. Li Zongjiu shook his head, as if he did not want to argue with Wang Lu at all. Lest you say that we tampered with it, we will use your medicinal cauldron to refine pills. As for the medicinal ingredients, we will provide it ourselves. Even the medicinal cauldron was used by Wang Lu. Was Li Zongjiu really confident, or was he just going to smash a broken pot? Therefore, he might as well act pretentious until the end. Li Zongjiu. Is there something wrong with Li Zongjiu's brain? My God, a medicinal cauldron is like a sword in the hands of a swordsman to an alchemist. This Li Zongjiu actually wants to use Master Wang Lu's medicinal cauldron. It seems like he really doesn't want to live anymore. He has no intention of winning this match at all. Chapter 29. In the eyes of most people, Li Zongjiu's attitude was already a broken jar. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well let Li Zongjiu have the upper hand. At that time, Li Zongjiu might act shamelessly. They had to be on guard against this. However, how could Wang Lu and the others let Li Zongjiu do as he wished? The people from the Sun family were also eyeing Li Zongjiu covetously. Each and every one of them wanted to tear Li Zongjiu to pieces. Behind Sun Jinglei was a person wearing a black robe and a hat. He lowered his head, not daring to meet anyone's eyes. This person was Sun Qiu of the Sun family, whose tongue had been cut off by Li Zongjiu. After all, he was a Yuan master powerhouse. Although his grade wasn't high, he was still a genuine Yuan master. Therefore, this injury was quickly stabilized. However, there was no way to recover his tongue. In other words, Sun Qiu wouldn't be able to speak for the rest of his life. He would become a living mute. Sun Qiu hid behind Sun Qiu and stared at Li Zongjiu. Even his body was trembling violently. It was all because of this abominable brat in front of him. Once this competition ended, he would definitely rush forward and behead Li Zongjiu. No, he couldn't let this guy die so easily. He had to pull out his tongue inch by inch before cutting it off. He also had to dig out his eyes and pierce his ears. The resentment accumulated in Sun Qiu's heart was unimaginable to ordinary people. He was originally a glorious elder of the Sun family. However, he had suddenly fallen to the bottom and ended up like this. It was really shocking and unbelievable. Even Sun Qiu himself couldn't believe that his tongue had been cut off by a teenager. No matter what, Li Zhongjiu wouldn't live for long. Since you have already decided, this old man will send you on your way. This is the golden origin cauldron that I have used for 30 years. Whether it is the casting material or the craftsmanship, it is a masterpiece. The cauldron weighs 572. Stop. Who wants to listen to your nonsense? Your cauldron is not worthy of being reported to me. Let's begin. Li Zhongjiu raised his hand and said, medicinal cauldrons were also very important when alchemists fought. Under normal circumstances, alchemists would introduce their own medicinal cauldrons to each other, just like how swordsmen would introduce their swords before fighting. This was a sign of respect. However, Li Zhongjiu directly interrupted him, letting Wang Lu know one thing. This Li Zhongjiu did not know the rules at all. It could even be said that he did not know how to refine pills. The only thing this brat could rely on was the old man who made a move that day, a peak master realm cultivator. The Li clan must have lost their minds. Did they really think that they could go against Wang Lu just because they had such a peak stage Yuan master? Wang Lu couldn't help but sneer in his heart. These young people were frivolous and arrogant. It was a pity that Li Zhongjiu's dream of becoming a powerhouse would be extinguished by Wang Lu here. Since Li Zhongjiu said so, Wang Lu didn't hesitate. Wang Lu didn't stand on ceremony and glanced at Sun Zhenglei behind him. Sun Zhenglei also slowly stood up. This competition will be hosted by me, Sun Zhenglei. All the spectators will be the judges. What do you think? Sun Zhenglei's voice was like a large bell. Although his words were gentle, everyone present heard Sun Zhenglei's words. No one had any objections. After all, there were so many pairs of eyes watching here. Sun Zhenglei immediately jumped and landed on the stage with a crash. This move seemed to be for the convenience of hosting and also to ensure the fairness of this competition. However, in reality, Li Zhongjiu indifferently glanced at Sun Zhenglei, who landed on the stage. This old dog must want to take him down and control him at the first moment. That was why he was so attentive. However, Li Zhongjiu didn't care. With Sun Zhenglei's ability, Li Zhongjiu wouldn't be threatened by him. However, Li Gui and the others in the spectator stands became nervous. Although Sun Zhenglei definitely wouldn't dare to openly harm the young master in public, it was still dangerous to be so close to the enemy. Li Gui also stealthily ordered 2 groups of people to approach the martial arts stage. Listen to my command. Place the cauldron on the ground. After 3 seconds, no one is allowed to approach the stage. After he finished speaking, Sun Zhenglei also released a tyrannical aura. Anyone who disrupts the order of this competition will be an enemy of my Sun family. The tyrannical aura formed a deterrent force. Bai Luoshue's eyes revealed a trace of brilliance. Sun Zhenglei's strength was even more tyrannical than before. He had once again improved a little. I'm afraid this brat is done for, Bai Luoshua thought to herself as she looked at Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu was still acting as if he didn't know the difference between life and death. It was as if he still believed that victory was within his grasp. He was completely unaware that his life and death was already in the hands of others. Such a person would not even know how he died in the end.
Clang.
The golden cauldron landed on the ground, causing the entire stage to tremble. After 3 breaths, Wang Lu also placed dozens of medicinal ingredients in front of him. Before he started refining, he had already thought about what kind of pill he would refine. Now that he started refining, he naturally had to keep up with his efficiency. Although Li Zhongjiu wasn't worth mentioning, Wang Lu wanted to win decisively and without any gossip. At the same time, in front of so many people, he wanted to thoroughly display his ability as a grade 2 high-grade alchemist. The feeling of being the center of attention was very good.
Boom.
A huge amount of yuan power directly flowed into the cauldron. At the mouth of the cauldron, there were 3 tiger heads arranged in a row. When yuan power flowed into the cauldron, the tiger head sculpture immediately spewed out a strong flame. It continuously heated up the cauldron. At the same time, Wang Lu also threw the medicinal ingredients in his hand into the cauldron according to the order. The entire cauldron was already filled with Wang Lu's flames. Li Zongjiu was already lagging behind. If he wanted to make a move, it wouldn't be so easy. After all, Li Zongjiu's yuan power was weak, and it would be difficult for him to break through. If the flame could not be controlled by oneself, then the herbs thrown in would be refined by the other party in vain. This time it's over. There's no chance at all. The surface of the golden cauldron is filled with metal elemental energy. Even if young master wants to get close, he will be repelled. How can there be such a stupid method? Li Jiuyan slapped his thigh. Maybe Li Zongjiu was really capable, but he didn't know many of the rules. He must be thinking about how to show off. Now, he couldn't even get close to the cauldron. What else could he do? Li Jiuyan, who had just woken up, was probably going to faint again with a creak. Chapter 30. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Li Zongjiu finally moved. They saw Li Zongjiu sitting cross-legged on the other side of the golden yuan cauldron. He seemed to be doing some preparatory work, constantly stretching his body. But until now, Li Zongjiu had not taken out his herbs. Could it be that he did not prepare the herbs beforehand? When Wang Lu saw Li Zongjiu's unhurried movements, he disdainfully smiled in his heart. I want to see how long you can pretend, Wang Lu thought in his heart. He had refined more than half of the herbs in his hands. In a few more days, the second-grade middle-level pill would be born. With his identity as a second-grade high-level alchemist, it was already very good to be able to maintain such a success rate. How many alchemists could achieve such a level? After all, Wang Lu wanted to become a third-grade alchemist master. As long as he could enter the third grade, he could be called a master. At that time, the seemingly unruly but actually arrogant Mu Yuan would not treat Wang Lu with such an attitude. Instead, he would be very respectful. But now Mu Yuan was actually not too afraid of Wang Lu. If it were not because Wang Lu had the potential to become a third-grade alchemist master, even if Mu Yuan owed Wang Lu 100 favors, he would not have come back to pay attention to Wang Lu. Of course, there was a very important factor. That was, in the entire Wuxia city, there was no one who could match up to Mu Yuan. This must be an easy task, so he agreed to come. Oh, not bad, old baldy. You can actually refine the ice and fire restoration pill in such a short time?
Li Zongjiu suddenly said.
His voice was so low that only Wang Lu could hear it.
What?
Wang Lu could not help but look up at Li Zongjiu. His eyes revealed a look of shock. Wang Lu did not believe that Li Zongjiu could actually see what kind of pill he was refining. How did this kid do it? Wang Lu didn't give any explanation before this, and the herbs he took out were also very scattered. Although it was possible to see what the main ingredients were, it was still very difficult to guess what kind of pill was being refined. Not to mention that the pill was only half refined, and nothing had yet to come out. How could Li Zongjiu know about it? Very surprised, right? Next, you will be even more surprised. Li Zongjiu smiled slightly. Suddenly, his hand slapped on the golden yuan cauldron. In an instant, the yuan qi in the golden yuan cauldron boiled, and even the flames spouted by the 3 tiger heads seemed to spread towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu freed his hand and took out a wine gourd from his bosom. After drinking a mouthful of wine, he suddenly spat out the strong wine in his mouth with a bang. The flames that rushed towards the cauldron of. Not good. Wang he retreated back to the cauldron fire immediately. He retreated immediately. However, he could not leave the cauldron. Otherwise, he would lose control of the golden yuan cauldron.
Boom.
The flames were extinguished. Sun Zhenglei stood behind Li Zongjiu without batting an eyelid. The act of extinguishing the flames earlier was clearly Sun Zhenglei's doing. Even though he had openly cheated in front of such a large crowd, no one dared to speak out against him. After all, it was not a big deal. There was no need to offend Sun Zhenglei over such a small matter. If he was remembered by the Sun family, he would definitely not have a good ending. It's useless to play these tricks. If you really want to show your value, then show me your ability. Wang Lu could not help but sneer. The move just now almost made Wang Lu break out in a cold sweat. However, Wang Lu didn't receive a response from Li Zongjiu. Suddenly, Wang Lu seemed to realize something. When he lowered his head to take a look, he was shocked to discover that the pill that should have been wrapped in his Yuan force fire had actually disappeared. "Where is my pill?" Wang Lu was suddenly horrified. As an alchemist, he had actually lost it when he was concocting pills. Ice and fire restoration pill. It's simply a waste of medicinal herbs for you to refine this pill. Li Zongjiu snorted coldly. Wang Lu realized that his golden yuan cauldron was already filled with Li Zongjiu's yuan qi. Li Zongjiu had injected his yuan qi into the cauldron and took away the incomplete ice and fire restoration pill when Wang Lu was not paying attention. At the same time, the yuan qi flames that were spat out by the 3 tiger heads had been replaced with Li Zongjiu's yuan qi flames.
Boom.
Li Zongjiu added more medicinal herbs into the cauldron. Most of the process had already been completed by Wang Lu. However, what Li Zongjiu was doing now was to sublimate the pill. "How dare you act rashly in front of me? When I was playing with fire, who knows where you were?" How could Wang Lu tolerate such a situation? Fortunately, the medicinal pill was inside the medicinal cauldron. Outsiders didn't know what was going on inside the medicinal cauldron. If they knew, then Wang Lu's face would be completely lost. Moreover, Wang Lu needed to salvage the situation as soon as possible. It turned out that Li Zongjiu had never thought of refining the pill together. Instead, he had planned to wait until Wang Lu was almost done refining the pill before snatching it. It was too despicable. Wang Lu released the yuan qi in his body. After many years of cultivation, coupled with the help of the pill, Wang Lu had become a grade 5 yuan master. Although he might not be as good as an ordinary yuan master in terms of fighting, yuan qi was his yuan qi. However, the essence force was genuine. Wanting to bully Li Zongjiu was not necessarily a difficult thing to do. However, as soon as Wang Lu released his yuan qi, it was immediately refined by the flames spewed out by the tiger head statue. No matter how much yuan qi he released, it was still the same. It was like a clay ox entering the sea. "Since you stole my pill, I won't let you refine it even if I have to destroy it." All of a sudden, Wang Lu went berserk and slammed his palm into the cauldron. Suddenly, the inside of the golden cauldron erupted like a volcano. Boom! A cloud of thick smoke rose to the sky. Everyone was taken aback. Sun Zhenglei even thought that he might as well get rid of Li Zongjiu in the thick smoke. However, after thinking about it, he felt that it was unnecessary. A mere Li Zongjiu was not worthy of a sneak attack by Sun Zhenglei. The cauldron exploded. 2 people using the same cauldron, it will definitely explode. No. Look in front of Li Zongjiu. There is a flame. Chapter 31. Those with better eyesight immediately noticed the ball of flame in front of Li Zongjiu's chest. That flame burned fiercely. It illuminated Li Zongjiu's tender face.
What?
That's a towering fire control pill. Without 40 to 50 years of fire control, it's absolutely impossible to achieve such a profound technique. Wang Lu looked at Li Zongjiu in shock. Li Yun and the rest were also shocked by Li Zongjiu's method. What's a towering fire control pill? Li Yun and the rest looked at Li Jiuyan curiously. As the alchemy elder of the Li family, he was naturally the most authoritative in this field. Questions that they did not understand were naturally thrown to Li Jiuyan to answer. Towering fire control pill is an extremely profound fire control technique. Usually, when the cauldron explodes, the pill can still be preserved. The instant the cauldron explodes, one uses one's own yuan power to activate the flame and envelopes the pill within it, allowing the pill to remain in the cauldron's environment. This way, the pill's effect will not be affected. Even the slightest deviation is enough to cause the pill to shatter into pieces. Li Jiuyan took a deep breath. It sounded simple, but the temperature within the cauldron had to be controlled. Moreover, once the cauldron exploded, it would definitely create some turbulent airflow. While controlling the flame, one had to find the pill. It was like adding a bowl of water into a pot of boiling oil. Then, in an extremely short period of time, one had to fish a bean from the oil pot into another pot of the same temperature. When Li Baichao and the other disciples heard this, Their faces were filled with shock. Li Zhongjiu was also a disciple of the alchemy hall back then. At that time, although Li Zhongjiu was young, but his performance in alchemy was a mess. As the eldest disciple, Li Zhongjiu was very unhappy with Li Zhongjiu. As the young lord of the family, but with such poor talent, how could he become the future leader of the family? But now Li Zhongjiu's thin and frail figure was sitting cross-legged on the dueling platform, supporting such a grand scene. Bai Luoxue was also shocked to see the ball of flame in front of Li Zhongjiu's chest. High fire pill control, that's a method that only a third-grade alchemist can use. Bai Luoxue was shocked in her heart, and she seemed to have smelled something unusual. Tisk, it's just using origin energy to catalyze the flame and preserve the medicinal pill. What's so great about it? Deliberately mystifying things and playing to the gallery. Bai Tianju said in disdain. His eyes were full of disdain. What could a mere Li Zhongjiu do? He was just a brat who was still wet behind the ears. Bai Luoxue ignored Bai Tianju. If he couldn't even see through such a method, such a piece of trash would not be able to see through it at all. It was meaningless to argue with such a person. Sun Jinglei's gaze instantly turned sharp as the ball of shocking lightning yuan power stealthily surged within his palm. But this hand was hidden under his sleeve, and most of the people's eyes were focused on Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu had already sensed Sun Jinglei's actions behind him. The ice and fire restoration pill in his hand had already taken shape. Not good. His pill is about to take shape. Even Wang Lu himself had never thought that even though the medicinal pill he had refined was a gift to Li Zhongjiu, it was definitely not a simple matter to refine the medicinal pill and complete the final fusion of the medicinal liquid. What's more, the high fire pill control that Li Zhongjiu had displayed was already quite amazing. This meant that Li Zhongjiu's strength far surpassed Wang Lu's. Although he did not dare to believe it, it was an indisputable fact. Seeing this, Sun Jinglei immediately released a ball of lightning yuan energy from his palm, which instantly landed on the floor. Using an extremely hidden method, it spread towards Li Zhongjiu. Naturally, he could see that Li Zhongjiu's pill was about to be refined. If Li Zhongjiu succeeded, his Sun family and Wang Lu would naturally not be able to get out of this embarrassing situation. If he cut off all ties with Wang Lu, then the trouble would only be greater. Therefore, their Sun family's honor and disgrace were tied together with Wang Lu. Today, Li Zhongjiu had to lose even if he didn't want to. Sun Jinglei has made his move. An old man beside Bai Luoxue said in a deep voice. As one of the Bai family's key disciples, after creating value for the family, there would naturally be experts following him. Although it was currently a peaceful era. However, vengeance between them would still happen from time to time. This old man was Bai Luoxue's guardian. White City. In the Bai family, he was considered the number 3 expert. Damn it! Bai Luoxue cursed inwardly. This Sun Jinglei was actually so despicable to sneak attack a youth. At this moment, the situation was still unclear. If Bai Luoxue acted rashly, she might not be able to guarantee that she would win. However, if she continued to wait, she might miss the opportunity. Victory or defeat, success or failure, would be decided with a single thought. Grandpa Cheng, save his life. The Li family did not have any experts present. Those who came were only small fries. In front of an expert, these people were not even worth mentioning. They could be easily defeated. If Li Zhongjiu did not have any experts by his side to help him, then he might die miserably. Bai Luoxue wanted to take a gamble. After seeing Li Zhongjiu use such a method and might really defeat Wang Lu with such potential, she naturally knew that he was not an ordinary person. Bai Luoxue, are you crazy? What did you say? Bai Luoxue, who was at the side, heard Bai Luoxue's words and could not help but ask. Before Bai Qing could make a move, he heard a series of crackling sounds coming from the front. Li Zhongjiu's figure leaped up and stomped on the ground. His domineering strength directly shattered the thunderclap yuan energy released by Sun Jinglei. In the next moment, Li Zhongjiu lifted the golden cauldron in front of him with one hand. He suddenly dashed towards Wang Lu. What are you doing?
Clang.
Li Zongjio flipped the golden cauldron in his hand and covered Wang Lu with it. The golden cauldron weighed at least 250 kilograms, but Li Zongjio lifted it with one hand. His performance shocked the crowd. What was even more surprising was that Li Zongjio actually dared to attack alchemist Wang Lu. Li Zongjio, you're courting death. Sun Zhenglei saw Li Zongjio's action and immediately snorted coldly. This Li Zongjio was actually so bold. At the same time, Li Zongjio broke his move just now. In Sun Zhenglei's view, this already posed a certain threat, even if it was not enough to threaten him. However, in the future, he would definitely become a threat to the Sun family. This potential threat had to be removed. Chapter 32. At this moment, Sun Zhenglei had already decided to silence the witness. After destroying Li Zongjio, he would destroy the Li family. Sun Zhenglei, you think you can sneak attack your grandfather? Li Zongjio said disdainfully. If you want to fight, my Li family is not afraid of you. However, you've lost this competition. As soon as he finished speaking, a pill lay quietly in Li Zongjio's hand. Ice and Fire Restoration Pill, high grade 2. There was a hint of pride in his tone. The Ice and Fire Yuan Recovery Pill was originally a grade 2 middle grade elixir. However, under such circumstances, Li Zongjio had refined it to grade 2 high grade elixir. You're courting death. Sun Zhenglei did not have the time to care about alchemy. He had to quickly release Wang Lu. Grandpa Cheng, if you don't act now, it will be too late. Bai Luoxue said indifferently. At this moment, Bai Cheng seemed to have realized something and instantly came to his senses. He released his tyrannical aura and jumped down from the stands.
Crash.
Upon seeing this, Li Gui and the rest did not hesitate. They immediately led their men and rushed forward to protect Li Zongjio. Patriarch Sun, please calm down. I think everyone has seen the result of this competition. As the patriarch of the Sun family, don't you think it's a little too much for you to act against a junior? Bai Cheng's figure landed between the two of them. Li Zongjio flipped over and stepped on the golden cauldron. In order to prevent Wang Lu from escaping from the golden cauldron, Li Zongjio stomped down on the cauldron the moment there was any movement. This stabilized the cauldron, making it difficult for Wang Lu to escape. Seeing that the Bai family had intervened, Sun Zhenglei's face immediately turned gloomy. When did the Sun family and the Li family join forces? Bai Cheng, if your Bai family wants to get involved in this, you better be prepared, Sun Zhenglei said in a deep voice. At the same time, the thunderclap yuan power was constantly circulating. At this moment, crackling sounds were emitted from Sun Zhenglei's body, ready to erupt at any time. Occasionally, the thunderclap yuan power on his body would even emit electric arcs. This posture clearly showed that they were going to fight at the slightest disagreement. Elder Bai Cheng, this matter has nothing to do with your Bai clan. I'll give this pill to you. I, Li Zongjio, will accept your kindness. If my grandson wants to rebel, Grandpa has plenty of ways to deal with him. Li Zongjio's mouth really deserved a beating. The words grandson directly scolded everyone in the Sun family. At Sun Zhenglei's level, how could he meet such a shrewish opponent? However, Li Zongjio's character was like this. He would scold them first and talk later. Let's see if you can still be so stubborn after I pull out all your teeth. Sun Zhenglei gave a low cry. The thunderclap essence energy on his body soared greatly. Soon, his aura reached the level of a grade 5 Yuan master. This level of strength was even stronger than Elder Lu Shun of Long Herb Peak. Sun Zhenglei, you shameless thing. You're already so old, yet you still dare to bully my son. Do you really think that there's no one in my Li clan? Suddenly, an angry roar came from afar. This kind of overbearing aura made everyone's eardrums tremble. Li Gui and the others were pleasantly surprised. This was because they were all too familiar with this voice. Wasn't this their beloved patriarch? The patriarch is here. The patriarch is finally here. Li Tianqing flew over from afar alone. His movements were majestic, as if there was a barbaric giant beast behind him. This was the Li clan's fire lion technique. And what Li Tianqing cultivated was the Fire Lion Yuan power. A violent and overbearing aura spread out. At this moment, this lion seemed to be in a rage. You've come at the right time. I was just thinking of testing the Fire Lion Yuan power of your Li clan. The lightning-shocking Yuan power within Sun Jinglei's body instantly exploded. Disciples of the Sun clan, listen up. Li Zongjiu injured our Sun clan's VIP. Capture him at all costs. Over 10 elders from the Sun clan stood up and leaped down from the viewing gallery when the order was given. Immediately, the surrounding people became nervous and excited. This was clearly the outbreak of a bloody battle. The two great clans actually went all out just like that. However, before the people of the Sun clan flew onto the stage, a figure had already landed on the stage. A bunch of trash. Don't make a fool of yourself in front of me. After speaking, this person's aura was released like a huge iron fan, blowing all the elders of the Sun clan off the stage.
Bang, bang, bang. What?
Seeing this scene, Sun Jinglei was shocked. This old fart actually wanted to betray him. The person who stepped onto the stage was Mu Yuan, whom Wang Lu had invited. Mu Yuan was dressed in rags and looked like a beggar on the street. However, when Mu Yuan made his move, one could see how terrifying his strength was. To be able to easily send all these people flying, such strength was extraordinary. Li Zongjiu also looked at the person in front of him. From the beginning, Li Zongjiu already knew that this person's aura was extraordinary. He was definitely a Yuan general-level expert. In his mind, a name quickly appeared.
Mu Yuan.
An assassin with a strange personality. An assassin who would kill the old, the weak, women, and children. A scum. So you're the one the Sun clan is relying on. I'll give you a chance. Kill yourself. Li Zongjiu stood on the golden cauldron as he said indifferently. Hee little brat, your tone is not small. Either you come down from the cauldron yourself, or I'll break your legs and throw you down. Mu Yuan was stunned when he heard this. Then, a cold arc appeared on the corner of his mouth. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he slowly said, If you can get within 5 meters of me, I won't kill you. Li Zongjiu said disdainfully. When Bai Luoxue saw Mu Yuan appear, she quickly recognized his identity. She immediately realized how serious this matter was. Since a Yuan general realm expert had intervened, this matter wasn't as simple as it seemed. However, he heard Li Zongjiu's arrogant words again. That was simply rolling his eyes to the sky. Couldn't this Li Zongjiu be a little more low-key and cowardly? Why was he so arrogant in front of everyone?
What do you mean by that?
You're saying that even a Yuan general-level powerhouse can't get within 5 meters of you? Do you think that you are a Sky Origin ancestor and have a Yuan spirit to protect you? You're simply too arrogant. He was even more arrogant than when he despised Wang Lu over the medicinal pill.
He was simply courting death.
He was 100% courting death. Then you've chosen the ladders. Mu Yuan's eyes instantly narrowed, seemingly transforming into a cold glint. The surrounding aura also instantly became turbulent. Li Tianqing didn't make a move. Sun Jinglei was blocking him, but Li Tianqing also knew that there was another person.
Boom.
All of a sudden, a surging aura attacked from behind Li Zongjiu. This power was as vast as the ocean and bottomless. It easily blocked all of Mu Yuan's elemental energy, which had turned into a sharp blade. An elderly figure appeared in front of Li Zongjiu. His body was stooped, and he was as immovable as a mountain. The old man was exactly 5 meters away from Li Zongjiu. Chapter 33. Bai Luoxue's eyes narrowed. From afar, she could feel that the aura from this elder was not any weaker than Mu Yuan's. In fact, she could even feel a vigorous vitality from this elder's body. This was a transformation that had reached the pinnacle of power. In fact, the Yuan power within his body had already formed a unique reincarnation cycle with this world. Under this reincarnation cycle, he was able to ensure that his aura was complete. Mu Yuan? You are merely at the Yuan general stage. This is not the place for you to behave atrociously, Lin Song slowly said. After this breakthrough, his aura had become extremely different. Given Mu Yuan's strength, if they had met 3 days ago, he might not have been Lin Song's match. However, things were different now. The majestic aura within his body displayed his absolute strength. Against the person before him, he could absolutely crush him. Yuan General Stage. When Mu Yuan saw the aura released by Lin Song, he was immediately stunned. However, a look of ecstasy quickly appeared on his face. Looks like you have just made a breakthrough. This is just what I want. Once I devour your flesh, I will naturally become a true Yuan general. After Mu Yuan carefully sensed his aura, a look of pleasant surprise appeared on his face. Although Lin Song's strength was overwhelming, Mu Yuan was not worried. Instead, he became excited, as if he had found a treasure. It turned out that Mu Yuan had cultivated a Yuan Sutra called Blood Yuan Art. If he wanted to make a breakthrough, he would have to absorb powerful blood in order to continuously make breakthroughs. Like Lin Song, who had just made a breakthrough, this effect was the best for Mu Yuan. It was convenient to absorb, and also easier to hunt. Haha, you sure talk big. Lin Song was all alone, while a short dagger appeared in Mu Yuan's hand. Scarlet red and turbid Yuan power swirled around his body. Suddenly, Mu Yuan's figure dashed forward.
Boom.
The dagger in his hand was like a cold flash as it swept towards Lin Song. Compared to Li Zhongjiu, he was more interested in Lin Song. Thunder crash. Sun Zhenglei suddenly attacked, charging towards Li Zhongjiu. However, how could Li Tianqing, who had been targeting Sun Zhenglei, allow Sun Zhenglei to succeed? He immediately used Lion Roar to intercept.
Boom.
A tyrannical fluctuation swept over. Take down Li Zhongjiu. Sun Xiu made a gesture. Although he couldn't speak right now, the Sun family was able to understand his gesture. Follow me. Sun Bin also jumped up from the bottom of the stage with his men and immediately charged towards Li Zhongjiu. Li Gui led the experts that the Li family had prepared and charged forward. Both sides were engaged in a chaotic battle. Li Zhongjiu stood on top of the golden cauldron. Below him, Wang Lu no longer had the strength to struggle. After all, the cauldron was too heavy. Coupled with his own strength, it was difficult for him to break free. Clang, clang, clang. The sounds of fighting continued. The battle between the Li family and the Sun family was ignited so quickly. No one would have thought that 2 of the 4 major families of the Wuxia city would directly start a fight. Roar. Sun Xiu's figure leaped out from the crowd. No one could stop Sun Xiu. After all, he was a second-grade Yuan master. His strength wasn't something that could be stopped by anyone. Not everyone was like Lin Song, who could easily defeat Sun Xiu. Zhongjiu, be careful. Li Yun, who was dealing with a disciple of the Sun family, quickly shouted. The opponent's elder actually launched a sneak attack on Li Zhongjiu. Sun Xiu already had the intention to kill Li Zhongjiu. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could he let it go? The expert that Li Zhongjiu relied on the most had already been delayed. Naturally, Sun Xiu wouldn't be polite and directly rushed out. In Sun Xiu's hand, there was a cold spring sword. Sun Xiu had spent a lot of money to forge the sword. When the sword was forged, it was tempered with the water of the cold spring. The solidified sword was even colder, heavier, and more tenacious. One could even feel a trace of bone-piercing intent from the sword. When Li Zhongjiu saw Sun Xiu's attack, he smiled disdainfully. With a tap of his foot, his figure flew out and opened his hand. A gust of wind burst out. In Li Zhongjiu's hand, there was actually a golden light blooming, as the golden light lingered in the center of his palm. In the next moment, it reached towards the cold spring sword that was slashing down.
Clang.
Li Zhongjiu stretched out his hand and directly caught the cold spring sword. The Yuan force in his body shook, and his wrist instantly exerted force. The cold spring treasured sword in his hand was like a biscuit, directly shattering into pieces.
Die.
Li Zhongjiu pinched the broken sword and sent it into Sun Xiu's throat.
Chi. Plop.
Sun Xiu immediately knelt on the golden cauldron. Li Zhongjiu's palm slapped the top of Sun Xiu's head, and suddenly a huge suction force was released. Sun Xiu's neck had clearly been pierced by the sword, but not a single drop of blood dripped down. All of it flowed in reverse, directly entering Li Zhongjiu's palm. His eyelids rolled up, and his eyeballs were squeezed to the top of his head. Sun Xiu could only open his mouth to breathe, but he was unable to cry out in pain.
Plop.
After killing Sun Xiu, a blood bead appeared in Li Zhongjiu's hand. Sun Xiu's shriveled body finally turned into a pile of trash and rolled on the ground. Li Zhongjiu kept the blood bead. For Li Zhongjiu to be able to condense the blood of a Yuan master expert into a snow bead, it was a good improvement. The purity of this blood bead was also very high. Just as Li Zhongjiu killed Sun Xiu, suddenly, a cold gust of air came from behind him.
Bang.
Li Zhongjiu's figure flew up, and the sword energy landed on the golden cauldron, causing a violent tremor. A figure landed on the golden cauldron. He was dressed like a scholar, and he held a white steel sword in his hand. It was the 3 fatal swords that Lin Song threw out in the elixir hall that day. Sun Jiansan. That day, when Lin Song threw him out, he was seriously injured. However, under the care of the Sun family, he quickly recovered. Today, Sun Zhenglei had given him a mission to hide in the crowd and prepare to kill Li Juyan at any time. Originally, it was to assassinate the alchemy elder. However, after seeing Li Zhongjiu kill Elder Sun Xiu, Sun Jiansan couldn't help it. Being from the same family, Sun Xiu could be considered Sun Jiansan's cousin. However, it was still too late. Li Zhongjiu killed Sun Xiu. Bai Luoxue and the others were shocked. At this moment, they had already retreated far away under the escort of Bai Cheng and the others. With such a chaotic situation, no one could predict what would happen. Chapter 34. Bai Luoxue was well aware of Sun Xiu's strength. There were only a few Yuan master-level experts in the Sun family. Although Sun Xiu's character wasn't good, he was still able to make a living in Wuxia City for the sake of the Sun family. Of course, the most important reason why everyone gave him face was because Sun Xiu's strength could be ranked in the top 5 of the Sun family. But just now Bai Luoxue saw something. Li Zhongjiu, who was only 16 years old, had directly crippled the Sun family's top 5 experts. What did this mean? However, Sun Jiansan, who was hiding in the crowd, suddenly attacked. Would Li Zhongjiu be able to defeat the 3rd-ranked expert of the Sun family? Li Yun had just seen Li Zhongjiu kill Sun Xiu, but before she could rejoice for too long, she saw the Sun family's fatal 3 swords attack. He was the 3rd-ranked expert of the Sun family. Even in the Li family, only the Grand Elder was a match for him. If it had been 3 days ago, Li Zhongjiu would have needed to expend some effort to deal with Sun Jiansan. However, it wouldn't be difficult for Li Zhongjiu to kill him now. Sun Jiansan couldn't let Li Zhongjiu escape so easily. He immediately leaped and charged towards Li Zhongjiu. Sword qi circulated in his hand, as if he had already set up sharp sword qi around Li Zhongjiu. When this sword qi was displayed, the surroundings became a dead end. Li Zhongjiu had nowhere to retreat. He could only face this sword qi head-on. Sun Jiansan's eyes carried a trace of coldness. If a child could easily escape from his sword, he, Sun Jiansan, wouldn't be able to stay in Wuxia City. He only needed one sword to deal with Li Zhongjiu. This sword is called Piercing the Four Walls.
Die.
Sun Jiansan roared, and the sword in his hand seemed to transform into 1,000 sharp thorns. Li Zhongjiu raised one hand and placed the other on the back of his hand. Lin Song, who had originally wanted to come to the rescue, could only shake his head and sigh when he saw that Li Zhongjiu was actually such a show-off. Then, he continued to fight with Mu Yuan. Although Mu Yuan had forcefully advanced to the Yuan general level, his combat experience was still richer than Lin Song's. Moreover, Mu Yuan was good at some insidious tricks. He liked to attack from behind. His fighting style was also to run away as soon as he touched the opponent. Therefore, it would take some time to get rid of Mu Yuan. When Sun Jiansen made his move, Lin Song was also a bit nervous. If he only focused on fighting the enemy and allowed Li Zongjie to die, then he would be too incompetent as a slave. However, when he saw that Li Zongjie was such a show-off, he felt relieved. Sun Jiansen was also angered by Li Zongjie's actions. Since Li Zongjie had underestimated him, then he would let Li Zongjie know what it meant to be too late to regret. The strength of his hand and the output of his yuan power increased by 50%. He directly attacked Li Zongjie.
Boom.
Li Zongjie smiled disdainfully. This kind of trick was simply child's play in his eyes. In his previous life, as the evil lord, he had met gods, killed gods, and beheaded demons. He had seen all kinds of insidious and vicious tricks. In the face of Sun Jiansen's sword, he could find the flaw with just a glance. Blood palm. When Li Zongjie circulated the yuan power in his body, the elemental pearl in his body trembled slightly. Li Zongjie felt that the blood dragon origin spirit wanted to come out, but it was suppressed by Li Zongjie. After all, the origin spirit was his own hidden trick. If it was exposed too early, it would definitely cause some unnecessary trouble. The blood palm, which carried a strong blood qi, was sent out.
Boom.
Li Zongjie's palm actually bypassed all the sword moves and accurately hit the hilt of Sun Jiansen's sword. Suddenly, the hand holding the hilt loosened, and the sword in his hand was directly sent flying. How is this possible? Sun Jiansen's face was suddenly filled with shock. This could be said to be his only weak point. However, how did Li Zongjie find it? Li Zongjie actually found his weak point so easily and even blasted his sword away. Li Zongjie sent Sun Jiansen's sword flying, which naturally meant that he broke Sun Jiansen's sword move. Then, he threw out a punch and directly blew up one of Sun Jiansen's eyeballs.
Bang.
Sun Jiansen fell to the ground. His hands covered his eyes as he roared in pain. Li Zongjie took advantage of the situation and injected his yuan power into Sun Jiansen's body. Not only did it blow up Sun Jiansen's eyeballs, but it also destroyed half of his face's nerves. Li Zongjie, you better kneel down now. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Turning around, it turned out that Li Yun was actually caught by Sun Bin in this chaotic battle. At this moment, Sun Bin grabbed Li Yun's hair with one hand and held the sword in his other hand against Li Yun's neck. The sharp blade of the sword cut a bloody line on Li Yun's white and tender neck. You're very arrogant. Let's see how arrogant you can be. Sun Bin thought that he had grasped Li Zongjie's lifeline. Li Yun was also constantly struggling. Ignore me, kill him. Li Yun shouted. At this moment, if she became a hostage, it would definitely bring a lot of trouble to these people. It would be better if she died in a few days. After that, there would be nothing that could affect Li Zongjie and the others. Li Zongjie, I've lost 3 times. You have to destroy your own yuan qi. Otherwise, I'll kill her. You better think carefully. Sun Bin roared in a low voice. There was a trace of madness in his eyes. At this moment, he couldn't care less about so many things. The hatred in his heart also filled Sun Bin's eyes. As long as he could make Li Zongjie die here, no matter what he had to do, it didn't matter. You're really reckless. Li Zongjie couldn't help but shake his head. This kind of method was what made Li Zongjie most angry. One must know that in his previous life, Li Zongjie had harmed his entire family. This was what Li Zongjie felt most guilty about. In this life, what Li Zongjie needed to do was to protect his family. However, this Sun Bin had already touched Li Zongjie's bottom line. The heavenly void god record quietly activated. In Li Zongjie's eyes, a vortex seemed to have appeared. Sun Bin, who was originally fiercely staring at Li Zongjie, suddenly saw the vortex that appeared in Li Zongjie's eyes. Suddenly, he felt as if the world was spinning and his body was empty. His mind was also in a mess and he didn't know where to go. Suddenly, Sun Bin woke up and realized that he was confronting Li Zongjie. At the same time, he had Li Yun as a hostage. Wait, where's Li Yun? Sun Bin lowered his head and saw that Li Yun's figure had disappeared. Chapter 35. How is this possible? Sun Bin was immediately shocked. The hostage in his hand had actually disappeared in such a blink of an eye. In the next moment, Sun Bin saw an extremely familiar figure standing in front of him. It was Li Zhongjie. Li Zhongjie. Sun Bin subconsciously wanted to stab Li Zhongjie with the sword in his hand. However, when he raised his hand, he realized that the sword in his hand had disappeared. Are you using it? Li Zhongjie sneered. Then, the sword in his hand slashed towards Sun Bin's arm. This seemingly simple slash directly cut off Sun Bin's wrist.
Crash.
Fresh blood immediately gushed out. Blood gushed out from the wound where the wrist was cut off. My hand! My hand! Your mouth stinks too, Li Zhongjie growled. With a swoosh, the sword in his hand directly pierced into Sun Bin's mouth. With a twist of the sword, countless bloody scars appeared in Sun Bin's mouth. At the same time, Sun Bin's tongue was also smashed into a pile of mincemeat. When the sword was pulled out, Sun Bin was already kneeling on the ground. He spat out his chopped tongue.
Crash.
The ground was also covered in blood. Although they had already retreated far away, Bai Luoxue and the others could not help but shut their mouths when they saw the scene. Li Zhongjie seemed to like cutting off people's tongues. Oh my god, this brat is so cruel. If he is in power in the future, he will definitely be a violent person. When Bai Tianju saw Li Zhongjie's actions, he immediately lashed out. Such a cruel method did not even kill Sun Bin. Sun Bin was still alive, and he was still gasping for breath. However, Bai Luoxue could not see any expression of difficulty on Li Zhongjie's face. It was as if this was an extremely simple matter. Who exactly was this Li Zhongjie? Binner. When Sun Zhenglei saw that one of his son's hands had been chopped off by Li Zhongjie and that his mouth had been severely injured, any father would be moved by such a bloody scene. Li Tianqing, the Sun family and your Li family will fight to the death. The thunderclap Yuan Qi in his body suddenly burst out. It actually forced Li Tianqing back half a step. Fortunately, the fire lion in his body was rich and vigorous, so he wasn't injured. Sun Zhenglei growled and charged towards Li Zhongjie and Sun Bin. The people along the way were all sent flying by Sun Zhenglei's aura. Die, Li Zhongjie. You hurt my son, so don't even think about living today. Vast sky thunderstrike. A ball of intense lightning suddenly burst out from Sun Zhenglei's hand. It spread out and charged towards Li Zhongjie. The violent lightning aura was extraordinary. Li Zhongjie reached out and grabbed Sun Bin, who was kneeling on the ground, and threw him towards the lightning released by Sun Zhenglei. Damn it! Sun Zhenglei immediately cursed, and the lightning in his hand instantly extinguished. After dispersing all the origin energy in his body, he finally managed to grab Sun Bin. Retreat. Sun Zhenglei didn't care so much. He would return to the family first. The situation here was too chaotic. Most importantly, Sun Bin was seriously injured. If he wasn't brought back for treatment, then Sun Bin might become a cripple. When did I say that you can leave? Sun Zhenglei wanted to leave, but Li Tianqing was the first to disagree. Since the situation had already turned out like this, how could it end so simply? Li Tianqing immediately blasted out a fire lion Yuan Qi and blocked Sun Zhenglei's path of retreat. Li Tianqing, you can't do this. You want to swallow my Sun family? Your Li family doesn't have the strength to do so. Sun Zhenglei quickly retreated a few steps and quietly approached Li Zhongjie. Li Zhongjie's talent was too terrifying. If Li Zhongjie was allowed to grow without any worries, it would be a catastrophe for the Sun family in the future. They had to kill him. Given the current situation, if they wanted to leave this place, they first needed to have a considerable bargaining chip. Even the appearance of the mysterious Yuan general-level powerhouse was because of Li Zhongjie. As long as they took down Li Zhongjie, everything would be easy to deal with. Sun Zhenglei still had this bit of foresight. However, Sun Zhenglei overestimated himself and underestimated Li Zhongjie. Li Zhongjiu had already seen through Sun Jinglei's intentions and actually took the initiative to attack Sun Jinglei. Since you want to capture me, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Blood Extinguishing Palm. After Li Zhongjiu's Yuan Qi entered the Yuan master boundary, it became easier for him to use this grade 2 Yuan skill. Of course, Li Zhongjiu didn't use the power of the Yuan spirit. If Li Zhongjiu used the power of the Blood Dragon Yuan spirit, the Blood Extinguishing Palm would be comparable to a grade 7 or even grade 8 Yuan master boundary.
Boom.
Sun Jinglei and Li Zhongjiu's palms collided. However, Sun Jinglei's figure was sent flying in an instant, slamming heavily on the ground. Sun Bin, who was originally hugging Li Zhongjiu, was also sent flying. He struggled on the ground for a while, but in the end, he couldn't get up. I'll kill you. Thunderhawk kill. At that moment, Sun Jinglei no longer cared about anything else. Instead, he unleashed his strongest move. Once the Thunderhawk kill was unleashed, the aura within a radius of 100 meters seemingly stirred up, transforming into an extremely intense clump of energy. One could even smell the restless aura in the air. The thunderous Yuan Qi turned into a Thunderhawk and pounced on Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu originally wanted to dodge this tyrannical move, but he suddenly thought of his ancient golden tyrannical body technique. The ancient golden tyrannical body technique relied on absorbing energy to create an unparalleled body. The power of the Thunderhawk should be able to withstand it. Li Zhongjiu immediately let out a low roar and didn't dodge. He just stood there and waited for the Thunderhawk to land. Zhongjiu! Li Tianqing exclaimed. With Li Zhongjiu's strength, he could have dodged the attack, but he just stood there motionlessly. Why was that? At the same time, Li Tianqing also launched a move towards Sun Jinglei. Boom! The Thunderhawk devoured Li Zhongjiu, but it was instantly blown away by the power of lightning. It was like a man of lightning was sent flying to the side. That guy. Bai Luoxue was shocked when she saw Li Zhongjiu get hit. This Li Zhongjiu's performance wasn't that bad. He seemed to have some potential a moment ago. How could he be killed in the blink of an eye? Haha, I knew it. This brat won't live for long. Bai Tianju laughed loudly. Sun Jinglei, if I don't destroy your Sun family today, I won't call myself Li's. Li Tianqing roared. His furious roar poured all of his energy onto Sun Jinglei's body. Furious Lion Flame. The Li family's secret technique was not passed down to outsiders. It was a secret technique that only the head of the family could cultivate. In an instant, Li Tianqing's Yuan Qi aura rose by 2 grades. From the 4th grade to the 6th grade in an instant. Chapter 36. Originally, the raging lion fire could only forcibly raise one's cultivation level by 1 level. However, for some unknown reason, perhaps it was because of the tiger essence amplifying elixir that Li Zhongjiu had given him, which had made Li Tianqing's body full of energy. That was why such a situation had occurred. As the energy surged into his body, Li Tianqing's aura also skyrocketed. Sun Jinglei's eyes widened when he saw Li Tianqing perform this move. However, a look of ecstasy soon appeared on his face. Haha, Li Tianqing, you're digging your own grave. I wanted to keep you alive for a few more days, but you forced yourself to perform this move. Do you feel like your body is being pierced by thousands of needles now? After Li Tianqing performed this move, he felt a little strange. He couldn't control his own strength. At the same time, a tingling sensation spread throughout his body. Although his aura had increased, he could no longer condense his Yuan power. Otherwise, Li Tianqing would have been pierced by his own Yuan power before he performed this move. Cough, cough.
Damn it.
You poison me. Li Tianqing suddenly realized something. The furious lion flame could be hidden in the body. When the furious lion flame was performed, it would be triggered again. Only a top-secret pill could achieve such a situation. This was developed by the Li family, but the recipe was destroyed a long time ago. The reason why the Li family made such a research was to strengthen the secret technique of the raging lion's flame. The only people who knew about this pill recipe were the Great Elder's family. Not good.
Cough, cough.
As Li Tianqing performed the furious lion flame, the medicinal effect took effect. If Li Tianqing forcefully attacked, his life would be taken in an instant. Family head. Eat this origin-returning pill first. Li Jiuyan hurried to Li Tianqing's side and fed him a pill. This pill was also used to adjust Li Tianqing's condition. As the Li family's alchemy elder, Li Jiuyan could see at a glance that Li Tianqing's current condition wasn't optimistic. This traitor. I didn't expect him to take this out. Li Tianqing cursed in his heart. This was something that could almost cause the destruction of the Li family. It was obviously destroyed, but these people were disloyal and must have preserved it. Hee Li Tianqing, you didn't expect this, did you? The feeling of being betrayed by your own people? We think. Sun Zhenglei laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with viciousness. If he didn't kill Li Tianqing now, what was he waiting for? Today, I want all of you from the Li clan to die here. Sun Zhenglei rushed towards Li Tianqing, but before he could kill Li Tianqing, he felt a gust of wind behind him. However, he didn't feel the slightest fluctuation of yuan qi. He couldn't help but turn his head and see a rock smashing into his head.
Bang.
A stone exploded on Sun Zhenglei's forehead. Sun Zhenglei's gaze suddenly focused in front of him. He saw a young man crawling out from the ruins. His clothes were already tattered and charred. There were some burn marks on his face, but after wiping it with his hand, it was just a layer of dead skin. Is this all you've got?
Li Zongjiu said.
He used his hand to wipe off the layer of black on his face. Otherwise, there was no way to recognize Li Zongjiu. When the Thunderhawk break surged into his body, the feeling was really not ordinary. Even though Li Zongjiu had experienced a lot of pain in his previous life, when this kind of energy entered his body, Li Zongjiu was still quite numb. However, the power of the ancient golden tyrant body art was indeed extraordinary. In such a short period of time, Li Zongjiu had already absorbed the power of these thunderbolts. After getting up, he realized that his physical strength had reached the realm of a yuan qi practitioner. Some cultivators didn't use the yuan force to fight, but used it to refine their bodies. Such a person's physical strength was extraordinarily powerful. They could even fight against a meta beast with their physical body alone. That wasn't the ordinary kind of terrifying. However, this kind of extreme method of cultivation was impossible to succeed unless one was born with a physique that was superior to ordinary people and was blessed with exceptional resources. Ordinary people's cultivation would at most stop at the yuan qi practitioner realm. Moreover, the physical body of an expert who cultivated this type of yuan power would also experience different degrees of improvement and transformation under the refinement of yuan power over the years. You can still stand up after taking my Thunderhawk break. The Thunderhawk break was the Sun family's grade 3 yuan skill. Similarly, only those at the family head level could cultivate it. It was extremely powerful. However, it made sense. If Li Zongjiu was hit by the Thunderhawk break, he would have been blasted into pieces on the spot. There wouldn't be a situation where he was blasted away. Just now, Li Zongjiu didn't explode on the spot, but was blasted away. Previously, he thought that it was because Li Zongjiu had some defensive equipment on him. However, now it seemed that Li Zongjiu had clearly taken this move. With your ability, you are indeed a little lacking if you want to kill your grandfather,
Li Zongjiu said.
At the same time, he picked up a stone from the ground. After taking 2 steps forward, his body suddenly accelerated and rushed towards Sun Zhenglei.
Swoosh.
One more time, and only death awaits you. Even your father can't kill me. You think you can? Sun Zhenglei sneered. Li Zongjiu thought too highly of himself. Immediately, the lightning-shocking yuan qi in his body surged and urged Sun Zhenglei's body to approach Li Zongjiu. The lightning-shocking yuan qi in his body was like an octopus. The lightning tentacles surged towards Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu threw the stone in his hand. Immediately, the stone attracted the attention of the lightning. It actually attracted all the lightning-shocking yuan qi to another place.
What?
That works too. Fall down for me. Just as Sun Jinglei was shocked, Li Zongjiu's body had already closed in. His fist carried the sound of breaking wind as it suddenly smashed towards Sun Jinglei's face. Bang! Sun Jinglei's protective yuan qi was directly broken by Li Zongjiu. A fist landed on his face. Sun Jinglei felt that half of his face was about to collapse. Everything was out of his control. 2 teeth flew out. Swoosh! Li Zongjiu did not stop attacking. Similarly, a blood-extinguishing palm landed on Sun Jinglei's chest. Suddenly, a loud bang sounded. Sun Jinglei's chest exploded, and a bloody wound appeared. His body knelt on the ground and spat out blood. He lowered his head and looked up at Li Zongjiu with difficulty. Then, he looked at his chest and finally fell down with a plop. Sun Jinglei dead. Chapter 37. Li Zongjiu's swift action caught many people off guard. Li Tianqing also stood in place, staring blankly at Sun Jinglei, who was lying on the ground and bleeding profusely. This old rival of his for more than 10 years was now lying on the ground like a dead dog. Although Li Tianqing didn't put Sun Jinglei in his eyes, if his eyes were only limited to Sun Jinglei and the Sun family, then his Li family was destined to be a small force entrenched in this Wuxia city. It would never be possible for him to rise up. On the Saint Martial continent, if you don't advance courageously and continue to make breakthroughs in this adversity, then you'll definitely be swallowed by the counterattack. If you don't advance, then you'll just wait to be eaten clean. Sun Jinglei is dead. People of the Sun family, surrender, and I won't kill you. Li Tianqing immediately shouted in anger. Many people of the Sun family in the surroundings also quickly fled. Those who were relatively smart knew to go back and pack up their things before leaving. However, there were also some who weren't very smart. They all put down the weapons in their hands, mainly because most of them didn't have a chance to escape. They were surrounded by Li Tianqing and his men. One by one, they all laid down their weapons and surrendered.
Boom.
Suddenly, there was a strong vibration. The tearing sound in the air almost penetrated the eardrums, causing everyone to cover their ears. This kind of stimulating sound wasn't something that ordinary people could resist. Li Zongjiu looked up at the sky. 2 figures were rapidly falling. The 2 of them had rushed into the sky while fighting, but now it seemed that Lin Song had no way to take down Mu Yuan. Mu Yuan saw that the people of the Sun family had been defeated, and with Lin Song, a Yuan general expert blocking in front of him, it was impossible for him to save Wang Lu today. After colliding with Lin Song, he took a few steps back and stared at Li Tianqing. This insignificant family actually dares to be my enemy. People of the Li family, listen up. In the next 3 months, I will take your lives one by one in the dark. Mu Yuan said coldly. Damned old man, you can protect them for a lifetime, but can you protect them for a lifetime?
Ha ha ha.
As Mu Yuan's voice faded, his figure soared into the sky, intending to escape. However, right at that moment, a white figure was rapidly approaching. The exquisiteness of this movement technique even surpassed Mu Yuan's. As an assassin, Mu Yuan was naturally more proficient in his mysterious footwork. Being able to grasp such a mysterious agility skill at such a level was naturally the reason why Mu Yuan was so popular. Previously, Lin Song had also suffered because of this agility skill. Even though Lin Song's Yuan power was more powerful than Mu Yuan's by a level, his agility skill could not keep up. His speed wasn't as fast as the other party. Therefore, if Mu Yuan wanted to leave, he could not stop him. The person who rushed out was naturally Li Zongjiu. In front of the evil lord, how could anyone he wanted to kill escape? Blood Frenzy Guide. Li Zongjiu's figure chased after Mu Yuan. His agility skill was so fast that he appeared behind Mu Yuan in an instant. At the same time, Li Zongjiu directly activated his own aura. After his cultivation reached the Yuan master level, he once again used the Blood Frenzy Guide. At the same time, Li Zongjiu threw a blood bead into his mouth. His aura instantly erupted. Grade 2 Yuan Master. Grade 3 Yuan Master. Grade 4 Yuan Master. Grade 5 Yuan Master. After raising his aura to grade 5, it finally stopped. This aura even surpassed Li Tianqing's. Li Tianqing, who was not far away, widened his eyes when he saw the changes in Li Zongjiu's aura. Oh my god, what medicine did he take to be so fierce? Elderly Zhou could not help but open his mouth wide. Looking at the changes in Li Zongjiu's body, his face was filled with disbelief. How could there be such an elixir? It must be some kind of secret skill. It was just that Li Zongjiu's secret skill was simply too terrifying. Ridiculous. Mu Yuan's eyes released a cold, murderous intent. Even Lin Song did not dare to chase after him. Do you think that just because you have mastered a little trick, you can fight against someone who is so much higher than you? If you want to be a hero, then you should be prepared to die a tragic death. Ghost Shadow Kill. Mu Yuan waved the dagger in his hand. The dagger swayed, and dozens of light shadows appeared, directly attacking Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu directly activated his Yuan force. Facing the dozens of light shadows, his hand movements easily broke them. Swoosh. Swoosh. In terms of hand speed, Li Zongjiu was faster. Before Mu Yuan could see clearly, Li Zongjiu had already broken his opponent's move. I haven't used this move in a long time. Evil Soul Eye. Li Zongjiu's eyes suddenly turned completely black. In the instant that his eyes changed, Mu Yuan, who was preparing to go all out to kill Li Zongjiu, suddenly froze on the spot. His eyes were dull, as if he had seen something incredible. And, in this short moment, Li Zongjiu's hand was like an eagle's claw, directly grabbing Mu Yuan's head. Die. Li Zongjiu's 5 fingers moved, the power in his body surging out.
Boom.
Under Li Zongjiu's angry roar, Mu Yuan's head was like a broken egg, crushed by Li Zongjiu. Brain matter and blood splattered. The blood stained Li Zongjiu's tattered clothes. However, at this moment, no one looked down on Li Zongjiu just because his clothes were dirty and messy. Instead, they all kept quiet out of fear when they saw Li Zongjiu's gaze. Lin Song's pupils shrank. He had fought bitterly with Mu Yuan just now, and there was not the slightest bit of exaggeration. Naturally, he knew how difficult it was to deal with Mu Yuan. However, such an opponent could not even last one move in front of Li Zongjiu. How terrifying was Li Zongjiu's strength? Lin Song did not dare to imagine. He had thought that after his strength had broken through to the primary general realm, he would be able to discuss and become good friends with Li Zongjiu after protecting him for a period of time. He would no longer have to listen to Li Zongjiu's orders. However, after witnessing Li Zongjiu's strength, he realized that Li Zongjiu had a hidden killer move that could kill him in an instant. Li Zongjiu was not an ordinary person at all. The reason why he had made Lin Song a slave was probably to have an extra person to run errands for him. In fact, Li Zongjiu's strength was enough to sweep through Wuxia city. What? Bai Luoxue could no longer keep her calm. Her mouth was wide open as she stared in disbelief at Li Zongjiu, who was standing in the middle of the square with a pile of hair in his hand. Bai Tianju, who had been scolding Li Zongjiu, no longer dared to speak after seeing the scene. He only dared to stare, and even forgot to run away. Li Zongjiu wiped the bloodstains on his hands on his clothes. The gaze in his eyes made people not dare to look straight at him. This was the aura of a king. Looking at the shocked and frightened gazes of these people, Lin Song was stunned. Li Zongjiu heaved a sigh of relief. I, Li Zongjiu, have returned to take revenge for my previous life. There was no need to explain so clearly to you. If there was a grudge, just kill it. Chapter 38. This was also Li Zongjiu's objective. Even the people from the Sun family were baffled. Although they also had a secret plan, they hadn't really implemented it yet. How could they have been discovered? Lin Song and the others were already shocked by Li Zongjiu's strength. No one knew how this young man, who was not even 17 years old, had such strength. Even his father, Li Tianqing, didn't know how Li Zongjiu did it. However, Li Tianqing knew that Li Zongjiu was still his son. As long as this didn't change, no matter how Li Zongjiu changed, it didn't matter. Maybe it was the old ancestor spirit, or maybe Li Zhongjiu had a very wonderful adventure. These weren't important. As long as Li Zhongjiu thought for the family, that was what Li Tianqing wanted. No matter what, it didn't matter. I won't kill those who are willing to surrender to the Li family. If you don't want to surrender, you can go back to the Sun family. When I flatten the Sun family, your heads will roll. Li Tianqing said in a deep voice. As soon as these words came out, many of the Sun family's disciples also gave up resisting. Now that the situation was hopeless, the only way was to escape. But where could they escape to? If they refused to surrender to the Li family, then only death awaited them. It was not up to them to choose which family they were born into. But now they were going to die because of their birth. For these people, it was very painful. This was almost a matter of no choice. However, Li Tianqing's words gave them a chance. After hearing Li Tianqing's words, some people also chose to raise their hands and surrender without hesitation. For them, it was fine as long as they could live. Those who liked to talk about dignity and whatnot should be left alone. Li Zhongjiu didn't interfere with these follow-up matters. Li Zhongjiu's appearance was only to help the family deal with these enemies. In this battle, Li Zhongjiu had killed many people and established a powerful and mysterious image. He was good at alchemy, good at killing, and decisive in his actions. Such a person, no matter where he went, would be a hero of a generation. Li Zhongjiu lifted the lid of the undying cauldron. Wang Lu, who was trapped under the undying cauldron, finally revealed his head. "Brat, you're dead for sure. Mu Yuan, kill this man for me." After Wang Lu escaped, the first thing he did was to summon Mu Yuan to kill Li Zhongjiu first. This guy actually dared to target him and even attacked him. As a grade 2 alchemist, how could Wang Lu tolerate this? Only by killing Li Zhongjiu would he be able to vent his anger. However, after Wang Lu finished shouting, he discovered the strangeness of the surroundings. Many of the Sun family's people were kneeling on the ground, and the people standing around with swords and sabers in their hands were all members of the Li family. Behind him, there were many corpses lying on the ground. One of them, Wang Lu felt that it was very familiar. When he took a closer look, he was shocked to find that the dead person turned out to be the head of the Sun family. Sun Zhenglei. How did this brat die? However, this feeling of shock was not over yet. Not far away, he saw a headless corpse lying on the ground. The sight of the shattered skull gave one a headache. It was as if a claw had landed on one's head and would shatter it at any moment. However, the clothes on the body made Wang Lu even more shocked. Mu Yuan. Wang Lu's voice was almost out of balance. He could only express the shock in his heart with such a horrified look. This was simply a slap to Wang Lu's heart. Wang Lu felt as if he was about to suffocate. This was his trump card, a general-level powerhouse. He died just like that? This guy turned out to be a waste. Wang Lu couldn't wait to catch this Mu Yuan and interrogate him. What happened to the cold-faced killer, the arrogant killer? Aren't you just stirring up trouble? At this moment, Wang Lu seemed to understand something. His life seemed to have been left here. However, Wang Lu quickly thought that the reason why the other party didn't kill him was because they were afraid of his identity and his alchemy skills. One must know that Wang Lu had muddled along for so many years, and now he had finally muddled along to this point. He was even an influential member of the Northern Medicine City's Alchemist Alliance. Based on his identity, if anything happened to Wang Lu, the Northern Medicine Alliance would definitely not let Li Zhongjiu and the others off. Wang Lu couldn't help but become bolder when he thought of his backing. Li Tianqing, I'm a member of the Northern Medicine Alliance. If anything happens to me in this small Wuxia city, your Wuxia city will cease to exist. Don't you dare touch me. Wang Lu shouted in a low voice. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. He was thinking in his heart that when he returned, he must kill these people. When he returned to the Northern Medicine City, none of these people would be able to survive. He would kill them all. Li Tianqing looked at Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu didn't say anything and directly kicked Wang Lu more than 10 meters away. Wang Lu pointed at Li Zongjiu with difficulty and then fainted. Lock him up. Don't touch him for the time being. In addition, capture his disciple as well. Yes, young lord. Li Gui immediately accepted the order. Li Gui was completely convinced by the young lord in front of him. Since when did he have such a hardy battle? In this battle, he directly killed 2 of the opposing elders, and even the Sun family's patriarch was killed. At the same time, he also captured 2 elders alive. Sun Jiansen also chose to surrender. What else could he do if he didn't surrender? He just had to give him another slap on the neck. From today, it could be seen that the Sun clan's momentum was already gone. The Li clan had even invited a Yuan general-level powerhouse, so what else was impossible? Therefore, even if there was some feudal struggle, it would only cause them to feel grief for themselves. In today's world, not many people were willing to sacrifice their lives for an illusory family's honor. If they were younger, they might be able to do so. How should we deal with Wang Lu? Li Tianqing came to Li Zongjiu. The poison in his body was only used to deal with the Fury Lion's fury. As long as he didn't use the secret skill, there would be no problem. However, this was equivalent to restricting Li Tianqing's ultimate move. If Wang Lu doesn't die, the Northern Medicine Alliance won't act recklessly. Let's stabilize it for the time being. When we can annex the Northern Medicine Alliance, we'll deal with him. Li Zongjiu said. Although Li Zongjiu was arrogant, he wouldn't speak without thinking. He wouldn't do things that he wasn't sure of. With the current strength of the Northern Medicine Alliance, it wouldn't be a big problem to call for 12 or 20 supreme general experts. Tomorrow, I'll talk to the Bai family's patriarch. Chapter 39. Bai family's patriarch. Since Li family had already made such a big move, they naturally had to be clear about their status. Therefore, when Bai Luoxuo saw Li Zongjiu kill Mu Yuan, she realized something and quickly left with her people. Many of the Li family's disciples were also injured in the battle. Fortunately, there were no casualties. The Li family won the battle. Those who originally had the mentality of watching a good show left one by one without saying anything. After all, they knew the seriousness of this matter. The Li family destroyed the Sun family. In the future, the sky of Wuxia City would change. From the 4 great families to the 3 great families, maybe in the future, Wuxia City would become the sole great family. It wasn't impossible for such a situation to occur. Therefore, some small families that originally maintained strategic cooperation with the Sun family all switched to the Li family's embrace. Some of the more arrogant herb suppliers also rushed to be first with a smile on their faces. As for Sun family's headquarters, Li family did not confiscate it for the time being. However, Sun family did not dare to do anything. They could only move the dead body back. Moreover, they did not dare to report it. If they reported it, the City Lord Mansion might intervene. However, if they did not report it, the City Lord Mansion would not say anything. After all, the disputes between the forces of Zhenghu were seen by everyone. As long as the City Lord Mansion benefited, it was enough. Of course, there were many voices in the City Lord Mansion. This Li family is really arrogant. They actually dared to fight in the medicine refining square. City Lord, this Li clan must be suppressed. Otherwise, it's extremely likely that the situation of the Li clan dominating Sunset City will appear in the future. The one who spoke was the #1 advisor of Wuxia City's City Lord Mansion, Ing Lai. Ing Lai was a rare advisor. He was far-sighted and meticulous. Now, the layout of Wuxia City was mostly controlled by Ing Lai. Wuxia City's City Lord Yi Chao glanced at Ing Lai. If Li family wants to be the sole great family, no matter what, they have to get the City Lord Mansion's approval. First, we have to figure out the matter of Li family's Li Zongjiu and that Yuan general-level expert. Where did that Yuan general-level expert come from? Yi Chao spoke. Ing Lai's eyes flashed with a strange light. However, he quickly hid himself. I've already sent someone to investigate. That's right. Is there any news about Tianshui in the Imperial Martial Pavilion? Yi Chao asked. Tianshui, Yi Chao's only daughter, was the only daughter of this generation. She was also protected by Yi Chao. However, Yi Tianshui's talent was very strong. In addition, Yi Tianshui was very competitive. Therefore, she resolutely entered the second largest Yuanwu institution under the imperial court, Chaowu Pavilion. Not yet, but there's news that Miss has entered the Yaowu Hall of the Imperial Martial Pavilion to further her studies. The Glory Martial Hall is the name of the Imperial Martial Pavilion's inner pavilion. Being able to enter the Glory Martial Hall can be considered as bringing honor to one's ancestors. Yi Chao let out a long sigh. He had not expected his daughter to have such talent to enter the Ancient Martial Hall and the Ancient Martial Hall. In another half a year, the Ascension Assembly jointly organized by the Imperial Martial Pavilion, the Sacred Flame Sword Pavilion, and the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor will begin. Right now, Tianshui should be working hard in seclusion, Yi Chao thought to himself. The Ascension Assembly was targeted at all the young talents in the world. Anyone could participate. As long as one had the strength and the qualifications to do so, one only needed to stand on the arena. The ice and fire restoration elixir refined by Li Zongjio today is in the hands of the Bai family? Yi Chao asked. Yes. Go buy it and send it to Tianshui. Although Yi Chao was far away in Wuxia City, he was thinking of ways to send the best things to his precious daughter. He did not know if Tianshui would still be interested in these elixirs. The Bai family was in a mess at the moment. After the big meeting, there would be a small meeting. After the small meeting, there would be a big meeting. Without exception, it was how to deal with the Li family. The Li family was determined to annex the Sun family. Based on the strength that they had displayed today, it was not easy to deal with them. If the Sun family was annihilated, who would be next? It's impossible to take the initiative to seek peace. It's impossible for us to take the initiative to seek peace in this lifetime. Our Bai family has a foundation of decades. Are we going to surrender just because of a mere general from the Li family? A mere Li Zongjio? I don't believe that the Li family can swallow such a huge family business. An elder of the Bai family said, That's right. The elder is right. I think that Li Zongjio is also a cruel and tyrannical person. If we surrender to them, who knows what kind of state our Bai family will be in. We have to get rid of this kind of scum. In my opinion, we should join forces with the Gu family and wipe out the Li family. Bai Tianjiu, who was at the side, quickly stood up and said, Li Zongjio was too terrifying. How could they let such a person live? They had to find a way to kill Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio's strength was one thing, but more importantly, Li Zongjio's performance was extremely dazzling. It was a level that Bai Tianjiu couldn't reach. Wasn't such a person directly stepping on Bai Tianjiu's head? Bai Tianjiu had to eliminate him. Family head, Lord Lai from the City Lord Mansion is here. Just as these elders were discussing, a guard came to report to them. Someone from the City Lord Mansion was here. This immediately made the eyes of the Bai family light up. The Bai family head, Bai Wuhun quickly said, Invite him in. Bai Luoxua glanced at Elder Bai Qing beside her. During the meeting tonight, Bai Luoxua did not say anything because she was trying her best to analyze Li Zongjio's character and what he would do next. Although Elder Bai Qing did not help much at that time, he still made Li Zongjio say something. Bai Luoxua would remember this favor. If he is a wolf, he will definitely devour everything in Wuxia City. If he is a dragon, Wuxia City is nothing to him. Li family. Li Zongjio and the others returned to the family. However, he realized that Li Changjiang had actually disappeared. Obviously, he had received news before this. Once Li Tianqing's matter was exposed, there was no doubt that Li Changjiang would not be able to escape suspicion. They only needed to casually investigate to find out who poisoned him. Aren't you looking for your granddaughter? Find Li Changjiang, and you can find your granddaughter, Li Zongjio said to Lin Song. In his previous life, although Li Zongjio knew about Lin Song's granddaughter, he did not know that Li Changjiang had colluded with Lu Shun and the others. In the end, he only killed Li Changjiang. It wasn't until a long time later that they discovered that there was actually an extremely secretive force behind the whole thing that was instigating all of this. Even Li Zhongjiu did not know much about this force. Therefore, he wanted to borrow Lin Song's hand to make a move. Li Zhongjiu deliberately let Li Changjiang go in order to find this clue. "Thank you, young master." Speaking of his granddaughter, Lin Song's eyes suddenly lit up. Immediately, he did not wait any longer. He turned around and flew away. With the resources of Wuxia elixir sect, it was not difficult to find a person. Chapter 40. Li Zhongjiu's battle in the Alchemy Square could be said to have become famous. Everyone knew that the Li family had produced a ruthless and powerful young master. Moreover, he seemed to be extremely good at alchemy. After all, the Li family itself was an alchemy family. Although it was only famous in this small Wuxia city, it was still somewhat famous. The Sun family's patriarch was eliminated, and now they were already feeling like they were unable to recover from this setback. The Li family didn't directly uproot the Sun family. Instead, they let their businesses gradually swallow up the Sun family's businesses and buy them at an extremely low price. From this point of view, they were also gradually encroaching on the Sun family. In the end, they would also take over the Sun family's most glorious forging industry. If he exterminated the Sun family, it might cause a huge commotion. Instead, it would be like boiling a frog in warm water, forcing the Sun family to leave on their own accord. When they reached the wilderness, it would be relatively easier to carry out the plan of eliminating the Sun family. After all, this was still under the nose of the Shungyan dynasty. If the dynasty was angry, then this matter would not be so easy to solve. Such a behemoth, even a casual sneeze would cause the earth to shake. "Young master, someone from the Gu family is looking for you." Li Gui's battle yesterday was also quite carefree. Now, when he looked at Li Zhongjiu, it was as if he was looking at the future head of the family. If he hadn't prepared so many people in advance and acquired the assets of the Sun family immediately after Sun Jinglei's death, Li Gui wouldn't have been able to do so. Moreover, so many experts of the Sun family were directly captured by the Li family. Now, they were also being trained. Li Zhongjiu himself experienced the battle yesterday. After resting for a day, his condition could be considered to have recovered. The Gu family was looking for him. The Gu family was also one of the 4 major families. It seemed to be very influential in this city. However, the Gu family usually did not seem to have any achievements, which made people feel very embarrassed. With the strength of the Gu family, if it was in normal times, it would not even be regarded as an ordinary family force. However, it was precisely because of the existence of one person in the Gu clan. It was this person who supported the Gu family's overall standard. This person was the old master of the Gu clan. He was also a retired soldier of the Shungyan dynasty's Xuanwu army. Although he was just an ordinary soldier because he belonged to the Xuanwu army, his clan was still able to survive in Wuxia city. The Xuanwu army was an extremely brave and fierce army that had fought for the empire. To be able to retire alive was an extremely heroic matter, so this veteran was given such treatment. Even though the Gu clan had declined, no one dared to touch them. Of course, this was also because the old master of the Gu clan was still shining on people. If the old master of the Gu clan were to fall, then there would be nothing left. Who knew what would happen? Li Zhongjiu also knew about the matters of the Gu clan. In his previous life, he had even admired the old master of the Gu clan very much. To be able to go on the battlefield, a true and extremely cruel one, and to be able to endure such bloodshed, one was definitely not a simple person. Moreover, the old master of the Gu clan had lived an honest life and had done many good deeds. Originally, with this old man's meritorious service after retirement, he could easily get an official position or become a consultant or something. However, he just had to return to Wuxia city, a village that belonged to him, to enjoy his old age in peace. In his previous life, there was not much news about the old master. Ever since Li Zhongjiu had fled, It was said that the old master of the Gu clan had passed away not long after. This was a great pity. Li Zhongjiu had more or less guessed the Gu clan's intentions for coming here. Let's go. Li Zhongjiu pushed open the door and took the lead to walk towards the side hall. In this side hall, there was already a simple and honest-looking, burly man waiting. When he saw Li Zhongjiu's arrival, the man's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. Such a small person killed Sun Jinglei of the Sun clan? Although Li Zhongjiu was very suspicious, the task given by the patriarch had to be completed. But young hero Li Zhongjiu, my patriarch wants to invite you to his residence. Gu Man said, his voice was as deep as a bell. Hearing this, Li Zhongjiu wanted to directly cover his ears, fearing that this guy's saliva would spray on him. Let's go, Li Zhongjiu said directly. When Gu Man heard this, he was stunned. This Li Zhongjiu was actually so easy to get rid of. He did not even say anything, and Li Zhongjiu had already agreed. Originally, Gu Man had wanted to prepare the conditions and use threats and promises to entice Li Zhongjiu. However, Li Zhongjiu's straightforwardness made Gu Man have a whole new level of respect for Li Zhongjiu. This was very satisfying. At least it was better than those hesitant women. Alright, you are straightforward enough. If you need me, Li Zhongjiu, in the future, just call me Gu Man? When Li Zhongjiu heard this name, he looked at the person in front of him in surprise. In his previous life, there was a period of time when Li Zhongjiu had also heard of the name Gu Man. At the age of 50, he had become an ancestor-level expert. However, he had also made quite a name for himself. Being able to become an ancestor-level expert at the age of 50 was already quite a feat. Who would have thought that the expert in front of him would be this simple and honest guy in front of him? Alright, that's what you said, Li Zhongjiu said. There was no need to waste the favor of a future ancestor-level expert. Although Li Zhongjiu was a sovereign-level expert in his previous life, he still could not recover to that level of strength. If he wanted to do it again, although it would not take 3,000 years, it would take at least a few hundred years. It would also be very difficult to succeed. That realm was not so easy to reach. There were too many secrets in this world, and they were also frightening beyond one's imagination. Even Li Zhongjiu, who was a sovereign-level expert, had not discovered some of the true secrets of the Shengwu continent. This meant that his realm was far from enough. Li Zhongjiu and Gu Man went together. As for Li Gui, he once again became the substitute bodyguard and followed beside Li Zhongjiu. Before Gu Man left, she took a look at her surroundings. Why didn't he see the powerful old man that everyone was talking about? Although Li Zhongjiu had killed Mu Yuan, many people did not dare to believe it. Most of the rumors said that Mu Yuan had died because of his fight with Lin Song. Chapter 41. That old man must have been invited by the Li family with a large sum of money. Originally, they wanted to serve the old man well, but it seemed that Zi did not need to do so for the time being. Gu Man did not want to do so many things, so he led Li Zhongjiu and Li Gui to the carriage and returned to the Gu family's courtyard. The Gu family's exterior looked simple and plain. The black and white walls were neat and uniform. This style gave people a sense of competence. Li Zhongjiu and the other two got off the carriage and observed the situation around the Gu family. Li Zhongjiu's heart could not help but tremble. He did not expect that the Gu family, one of the 4 great families, would be so low-key. This was also the first time that Li Zhongjiu came to the Gu family's territory. This way, please, Gu Man said and led Li Zhongjiu and Li Gui through a winding path. In front of them was a bamboo garden. At this time, there were many guards and servants outside the bamboo garden. All of them were pacing back and forth. This is the old master's resting place. If you are not invited, please wait outside, Gu Man said. This meant that no one was allowed to enter without permission. That meant that Li Zhongjiu could not enter. Originally, with Li Zhongjiu's bad temper, if you invited me and blocked my people outside, wouldn't that be stepping on my head and shitting on my head? However, Li Zhongjiu also knew about the situation of these people. The entire Gu family did not have any extravagant atmosphere. From top to bottom, it gave people a sense of competence. In such an environment, there was no situation where people looked down on people. It should be inconvenient, so Li Zhongjiu temporarily put this matter aside. Although Li Zhongjiu was arrogant, he was not an unreasonable person. Under normal circumstances, reasoning was one thing. As long as you did not offend me, I would reason with you. But to be reasonable, if you want to infringe on my interests, then Li Zhongjiu will use his fists to reason with you. You stay here first, Li Zhongjiu said. There was some worry in Li Gui's eyes. After all, this was the Gu family's territory. Li Zhongjiu had just stood at the heart of the storm yesterday. If something happened and he didn't know anything, it would be very bad. Brother, don't worry. I can guarantee that your young master is absolutely safe in the Gu family. Otherwise, you can chop my head off. Gu Man roared. If you don't believe me, then I will fight you with my life. This caused Li Gui to roll his eyes. Who knows if your words are true or not? However, since even Li Zhongjiu had spoken, he would wait here for a while. If something really happened, then Li Gui would risk his life to bring Li Zhongjiu out. Please come in. Li Zhongjiu was brought to a house by Gu Man. There were some precious medicinal herbs planted around the house.
Li Zhongjiu could see some of them.
Even in the Luo Xia city's market, he couldn't find any of them. There seemed to be many people gathered in the house. Is this Mr. Li? He is younger than I thought. Even before he entered, a faint fragrance wafted over. This fragrance easily caused one to let down the guard in one's heart. At the same time, the other party's voice also gave one a numbing feeling, easily causing one to let down the guard in one's heart. My name is Gu Yanhong. I am the housekeeper of the Gu family. Gu Yanhong? Li Zhongjiu raised his head and looked at the woman in front of him. She had a full body and was full of charm. She was Li Zhongjiu's type. However, Li Zhongjiu was still a teenager. It was not suitable for him. Li Zhongjiu had heard of Gu Yanhong's name in his previous life. However, his understanding of this person stopped at the level of hearing. It was said that Gu Yanhong was not the blood of the Gu family. She was an abandoned baby picked up by the old man on the battlefield. She was the old man's adopted daughter. He did not expect her to become the housekeeper of the Gu family. Just say it, Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. Gu Yanhong looked at the young man in front of her very curiously. It was said that the storm yesterday was caused by this young man. To be able to cause such a big storm and persevere in the storm without collapsing, this showed that Li Zhongjiu was not an ordinary person. Our old man's old illness has relapsed. If you can treat him, our Gu family will thank you greatly. After saying that, Gu Yanhong also walked in with Li Zhongjiu. Gu Man did not enter, but stood at the door to guard. This was old Master Gu's room, so the security must be very tight. Moreover, Gu Man did not know anything about medicine. Therefore, he could only shoulder the responsibility of a guard. When Li Zhongjiu entered the room, he saw at least 5 groups of people sitting in the room. After a little surprise, Li Zhongjiu also sat in an empty seat. He did not communicate with these people. These 5 people were all sitting in their own seats. Some of them should be famous doctors within 100 miles of Wuxia city. I have no choice but to call you here in a hurry today. If we have disturbed you in any way, please forgive us. Gu Yanhong said. After saying that, she also bowed slightly. Some old men also quickly stood up and cupped their hands. Chief Butler, you are too polite. It is our duty to treat people. The first one to speak was the hall master of the Huichun Hall. The hall master of the Huichun Hall was known as the Miracle Doctor. Within 100 miles, he was quite famous. It was said that when this old man treated people, he would often burn a piece of talisman paper and let the patient drink it. After a few days, the patient would either die or recover. He still had some skills.
Okay.
Today's matter, regardless of success or failure, I hope that you masters will not spread this matter. Gu Yanhong said. Although she was beautiful and had a sweet voice, it still made people feel a chill on their skin, and their bodies couldn't help but tremble. If there was a problem, it was obvious that they could feel the cold, murderous aura mixed in it. Treating the old master's illness is naturally not a problem. However, the few of us are all famous doctors within a radius of 100 miles. It is only right for us to gather together. But Chief Butler, who is this kid? Does he know how to treat people? Why should he be on the same level as us? If Chief Butler thinks that I, the Wuxia Medicine King, am on the same level as this ignorant kid, then I will not say anything even if my hands are cut off. An old man in a black and white striped linen robe stood up and said. Usually, on such occasions, there would be people who did not know what was good for them and would suddenly make things difficult. Li Zongjio was still playing with the teacup lid in his hand when he suddenly felt that the surrounding people's eyes were focused on him. Wait, what? Are you talking about me? Li Zongjio seemed to have just reacted. Was this old man tired of living? He actually dared to play such a trick on him? Kid, this old man is not talented, but I am familiar with the 100 herbs and 1,000 classics. I can recite it backwards. I can identify 20,000 kinds of medicinal herbs. I have practiced medicine for 10 years and cured countless people. It can be said that my merits are boundless. How many books have you read, and how many people have you saved? What right do you have to sit here? The Wuxia Medicine King pointed at Li Zongjio and spoke word by word. Although he did not scold him, his aura was overbearing. The whole place was silent. Nobody spoke up for Li Zongjio. Even the other old men snorted and turned their heads away coldly, as if they were not willing to look at Li Zongjio. The Wuxia Medicine King was very pleased with himself. As the saying went, there was no first place in literature. In the medical world, there was naturally no first place. He had deliberately spoken about his own experiences. It felt as if he had gained the upper hand by boasting. Now these people know how powerful I am. Do you know how to write the word death? Li Zongjio looked into the Wuxia Medicine King's eyes and asked seriously. Chapter 42. Do you even know how to write the word death? Of course, the heaven-reversing Medicine King knew that Li Zongjio wasn't really asking him how to write the word. Instead, he was threatening him. Li Zongjio wanted to kill him and then threaten him. Wuxia City wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. Some things spread very quickly in certain circles, but in the medical world, the speed of transmission was still a little slow. Therefore, Li Zongjio's reputation hadn't spread here yet. They just felt a little unbalanced when they saw such a young man sitting on the same level as them. The more serious ones would even think that their reputation had been insulted. This was very puzzling. However, this feeling was normal. They were able to receive such grand treatment from the Gu family because of their own standards and experience. And Li Zongjio, this young kid, must have some connections to get in through the back door. When this person was cured and went out to say that he had a part in it, wouldn't that make people very unhappy? Therefore, they had to kick Li Zongjio out of the game first. However, Li Zongjio was amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Moreover, these old things dared to make trouble for him. This was a little too stupid. Li Zongjio was the best at dealing with people who wanted to show off. Where did this little brat come from? Is this how your elders taught you? The heaven-reversing Medicine King's face was angry, and his aura suddenly burst out. It felt like an elder teaching a junior a lesson. Huh. Li Zongjio immediately returned a sharp look. The energy in his body instantly condensed in his body. With just a glare, the heaven-reversing Medicine King was directly sent flying by an invisible aura.
Bang!
A mouthful of blood spurted out. This time, the heaven-reversing Medicine King instantly fell to the ground. There was a trace of horror in his eyes. He never thought that this kid would dare to attack directly. Gu Yanhong's eyes also flashed. She never thought that Li Zongjio would be so disrespectful. Wasn't he making things difficult for her? However, Li Zongjio's move just now was quite a brilliant move. Without a certain amount of research on elemental energy, it was impossible to achieve such a level. You dare to fight? The Goof family invited us here to treat your illness. Young man, if you want to prove your strength, then please show us your medical skills.
Fight?
That's what a boorish man would do. An old man who looked like he was afraid of being beaten stood up and pointed at Li Zhongjiu. After all, in the minds of ordinary people, they were a group of doctors. If you wanted to compete with them in martial arts, it would be extremely inappropriate. If you wanted to compete, you would have to use your medical skills to subdue them. However, it was obvious that Li Zhongjiu did not want to compete with them in medical skills. Compete in medical skills? Who do you think you are? If you continue to stir up trouble, I'll strip all of you naked and throw you out, Li Zhongjiu said disdainfully. It was just a small punishment just now, but these people did not seem to be very obedient. They still wanted to force themselves to be pretentious. Mr. Li, please calm down. Gu Yanhong finally spoke at this time. You may not know, but this is the young master of the Li family, Mr. Li Zhongjiu. Yesterday, Mr. Li defeated Master Wang Lu in the medicine refining square. Originally, Grandmaster Wang Lu was the one they wanted to invite, but later, he was defeated by Li Zhongjiu and was directly captured by Li Zhongjiu. Therefore, they had no choice but to invite Li Zhongjiu. It seemed that Li Zhongjiu's strength was more powerful than Li Zhongjiu's. Defeated Wang Lu. The young man who defeated Wang Lu? In terms of alchemists, they were naturally one level higher than them. However, there were specializations in this field. Most of the alchemists refined pills that were targeted at increasing one's cultivation base. There were very few alchemists who specialized in researching how to treat illnesses and refining pills that were targeted at treating illnesses. This was because they didn't make any money. However, old Master Gu's condition was critical, so they had no choice but to summon these doctors. As a grade 2 advanced alchemist, Wang Lu was naturally surprised by Li Zhongjiu's ability to treat illnesses. However, even though he knew that Li Zhongjiu had captured him, he still invited Li Zhongjiu over. However, according to common sense, Li Zhongjiu's strength had been questioned. No matter what, he should have used his medical skills to convince these people. Who would have thought that Li Zhongjiu would directly make a move? The so-called heaven-reversing medicine king, who was lying on the ground, was directly knocked out by Li Zhongjiu's aura. He did not wake up, but even if he did, there was no need to do anything. It's you, the arrogant young master of the Li family. The other 4 people were extremely shocked. Gu Yanhong did not know whether it was the right decision to invite Li Zhongjiu over. After all, Li Zhongjiu directly crippled a doctor. Yes, is there anyone else who wants to compete in medical skills now? Hearing Li Zhongjiu's question, these people did not dare to speak. Although they were older and seemed to be very qualified, in front of the young master of the Li family, they were still inferior. After all, they were just a group of traveling doctors. The Gu family could gather them. Then the Li family would be able to destroy them all. No one would have thought that this seemingly weak young man actually had such a big background. After knowing Li Zhongjiu's background, even if Li Zhongjiu was a real waste, they did not dare to say anything. If everyone was a disciple of a big family, it would not be a big deal to talk and ridicule each other. But these traveling doctors relied on their skills. Sometimes they also needed a big mountain to support them. The Li family was such a big mountain, and so was the Gu family. That was why they came here so enthusiastically to treat Old Man Gu's illness for free. Everyone, please come in. Gu Yanhong looked around. After seeing that these people were obedient, she led the 5 people into the room. They saw an old man in white lying in a freezer. Inside the freezer, one could see that there were some fiery red traces spreading on the old man's skin. This was an extremely potent fire poison. If not for the cold air emitted by the ice chest, this fire poison would have easily engulfed the old man's veins and skin. Such a terrifying scene was truly shocking to the onlookers. The fire poison was flowing in the body, and he was enduring the burning pain at every moment. This was not something that an ordinary person could endure. However, although the old man's body was thin, he persisted and did not give up. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already given up on the will to live and directly died. That might be a better ending. Our family's old man suffered from sequelae from his military service. Everyone who can cure him. Chapter 43. The old man was still able to endure such a strong fire poison. His perseverance was extraordinary. If I'm not wrong, he was injured by the fire poison of the golden crystal yuan lion, a third-grade primordial beast. After all, the hall master of the rejuvenation hall had practiced medicine for many years and was knowledgeable. He was able to detect it just by judging through the freezer. Yes, hall master's medical skills are indeed profound. Gu Yanhong's eyes were also filled with joy. He could directly see the old man's condition. His judgment might really have a way. Although they had invited some alchemists over, they discovered that the alchemists were only able to refine some pills to control the fire poison. They were not able to truly remove the fire poison. Therefore, they took an unconventional approach this time and gathered these old doctors. Although they weren't very good at refining pills, they definitely had treatment experience in this area. I've seen similar fire poison before, but it wasn't as strong as this. It's so tenacious. It seems that the fire poison has been deeply rooted. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall said in a deep voice. The people behind him seemed to have stopped there. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall was the most skilled one. However, these people more or less had their own opinions. The power of the fire poison has already attacked the heart. It's not impossible to remove it, but the price may be much more serious, and it will take a long time. I don't know if the old man can withstand it. After a few people discussed in detail, the hall master of the rejuvenation hall stepped forward and said, "Hall master, please speak. No matter what, our Gu family will never give up." Gu Yanhong said quickly. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall's medical skills were really excellent. They could discuss a certain countermeasure. First, open the freezer. I'll use the 9 lines needle technique to temporarily seal the old man's qi and blood. In this way, we can effectively stop the spread of the fire poison. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall said. At the same time, he stroked his mustache and seemed to glance at Li Zongjiu, who was not far away, with a strange gaze. This needle technique is a doctor's secret. Those who don't understand it can leave. Otherwise, they will tarnish my set of needle techniques. His words were clearly aimed at Li Zongjiu. This put Gu Yanhong in a dilemma. The hall master of Huichun Hall was confident that he could cure old master Li Zongjiu, so naturally, he had to follow Gu Yanhong's instructions. However, Li Zongjiu's identity was not simple. If he was angered, it was obviously not easy to deal with. After careful consideration, for the sake of old Master Li's life, he had to ask Li Zongjiu to leave first. 9 elements acupuncture technique? Is this your treatment method? If you really use this set of needle techniques on old Master Gu woman, you can just wait to collect his corpse tomorrow. You don't need this freezer anymore. Just change it into a coffin. Li Zongjiu said disdainfully after he finished speaking. What the hell? This quack doctor, who pretended to know something, actually wanted to use such an inferior trick to remove the power of fire poison. If the 9-element needle technique had landed on old man Gu's body, the power of the fire poison would have burned the old man's body to ashes in the blink of an eye. When that happened, he would probably know how to write the word regret. Young man, although you are the young master of the Li family and proficient in alchemy, in terms of medical skills, it is not up to you to make trouble here. My 9 elements acupuncture technique promotes blood circulation, removes blood stasis, and clears the mind and improves eyesight. It is one of the 5 acupuncture techniques. How dare you question the 9 elements acupuncture technique? Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, the hall master of Huichun Hall suddenly exploded on the spot like a kerosene can being ignited. He almost wanted to fight Li Zongjiu to prove that his acupuncture technique was absolutely safe. Otherwise, if Gu Yanhong thought that he was going to kill the old man of the Gu family, he would be dead. Oh, you can have a try. You can have a try. Li Zongjiu spread his hands. Let me see what kind of power your acupuncture technique, which outsiders can't see, has. In fact, the hall master of Huichun Hall also knew in his heart that when his acupuncture technique fell, it would definitely irritate the fire poison in old Master Gu's body. However, as long as old Master Gu's body could withstand it, there would be no problem. However, after being pointed out by Li Zongjio, he directly felt that he didn't dare to do it. If he really did it and old Master Gu died, he wouldn't be able to leave here alive. Then tell me, this fire poison is like a maggot in the bone. How can it be cured? The hall master of Huichun Hall said. Since Li Zongjio was so capable, then you come, let's see who is better, you or me. If Li Zongjio couldn't give a reason, then he was deliberately making trouble. Gu Yanhong also looked at Li Zongjio. After all, his vision was too narrow. Li Zongjio couldn't help but shake his head. Then he walked forward. In Wuxia City, even a third-grade metabeast was extremely rare, let alone a third-grade metabeast, the golden crystal metalion. The fire poison has already entered the body, even to the bone marrow. Since that's the case, the best way is to refine it. Li Zongjio took a glance and said. Unexpectedly, as soon as these words came out, the hall master of Huichun Hall and a few of the old doctors in the pharmacy directly laughed out loud. Haha, young people are young after all. Before you refine pills in the future, you must be clear about what is poison and what is body. Refining the fire poison for your own use, your idea is really smart, really smart. If it's the Nantion Elixir King, it might be possible. With the Elixir King's strength, refining a 5th-grade breath-nourishing corroding pill should be no problem. The Nantion Elixir King was one of the 4 great elixir kings of the Shengyan dynasty. Known as the sky of the southern part of the dynasty, he was given the title of Nantion Elixir King. A elixir king who could refine a 5th-grade elixir pill was rare, even in the dynasty. If they could invite such a person to help, then any elixir pill could indeed cure old man Gu's injury. However, such a person could only be in existence that they could only look up to. Speaking of this, these old doctors were obviously mocking Li Zongjio. Even a child wouldn't be able to come up with such a method. It was as if they were saying, what if I'm poisoned? Then you should refine the poison and assimilate it into your body. What if I'm stabbed? Are you saying that you should assimilate the knife into your body? Only a retard would say something like that. They had already given Li Zongjio enough face by not directly scolding him. At this moment, even Gu Yanhong could tell that something was wrong, because Li Zongjio's words were very amateurish. This was simply impossible. Li Zongjio, could it be that he was here to cause trouble? Chapter 44. Gu Yanhong took a deep breath. No matter what, she had to give it a try. She had to stabilize old man Gu's injuries first. Otherwise, if something unexpected happened to him, what should she do? She had no idea at all. Perhaps the Gu family would directly collapse.
It was hard to say.
Mr. Li, since the hall master has thought of a way first, please perform the needle technique first, Gu Yanhong said. Gu Yanhong didn't say anything to Li Zongjio. In fact, Li Zongjio did not really care about old man Gu's life or death. Although he admired her spirit, there was no need for him to save her just because he admired her. However, for the sake of his Li family situation and to carry out further expansion, he had to take over the Gu family first. Alright, everyone, help me stabilize old man Gu's situation, the hall master of the rejuvenation hall said. The rest of the people also hurried forward. The 3 of them were scattered in a corner. During the treatment process, if anything went wrong, they had to stabilize the situation. Therefore, with these senior doctors on the scene, they could more or less control the situation. The hall master held the silver needles in his hand. He took a deep breath and came in front of old man Gu. His hand actually trembled slightly. Although he had seen many patients before, it was his first time diagnosing such a high-status patient. It would be best if he could get a good result from this injection. Otherwise, if anything went wrong, he would not be able to live past today. 9-element needle technique, blood recovery technique. Immediately, the silver needles fell. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The moment the needles fell, they directly penetrated the old man's skin and went 5 inches deep. In an instant, 9 silver needles appeared on the old man's chest. When these silver needles appeared, it could be seen that the fire poison in the old man's body seemed to be activated. Moreover, it was resisted by external factors and directly rushed toward the 9-element needle technique on his chest.
Boom.
The 9 silver needles in the Hall Master's hand also trembled violently at this moment. Not good, the Hall Master muttered in his heart. When the others saw this, they were also shocked. The Hall Master of the Rejuvenation Hall immediately added 3 more silver needles and directly used these silver needles to stimulate the other party's acupuncture points, releasing the last bit of life force in the body and using this life force to resist the fire poison. The silver needle was already red from the heat, and it looked as if it was about to melt. However, the Hall Master of the Rejuvenation Hall soon discovered that the state of the silver needle had stabilized. It was obvious that the method of using the potential within his body to resist the fire poison had worked. It's stable. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. If something were to happen in public, it would be over. Just as the Hall Master of the Rejuvenation Hall relaxed and a smile appeared on his face, he saw that the silver needle under his hand actually started to tremble. Swoosh! The silver needles were sent flying by the fire poison. At the same time, 9 streams of blood spurted out from the tiny holes and splashed onto the Hall Master of the Rejuvenation Hall. The needle is useless. Sizzle! The blood contained boiling power. Once it came into contact with the body, it would form a terrifying corrosive power. The Hall Master of the Rejuvenation Hall's face was directly burned into a mess. The other 3 people also hurriedly retreated. However, there were still some people who were splashed by the blood. In just a breath's time, there was a large hole on their body, and they looked extremely terrified. What? Old masters! When Gu Yanhong saw this scene, she was immediately at a loss. She picked up a towel and wanted to go up and suppress the old man's wound to prevent the blood from continuing to spurt out. However, at this moment, a hand directly pushed Gu Yanhong away. Li Zongjiu took a step forward and teleported away. He raised his hand and circulated the yuan power in his body and directly landed a palm on the old man's head. A mere fire poison. How dare you be so presumptuous? Li Zongjiu let out a low roar. The terrifying yuan power in his body crazily surged out and directly suppressed the fire poison. At the tip of his finger, a wave of yuan power condensed into a flame. Immediately, he continuously pressed on the spot where the needle was inserted and instantly sealed the wound. Otherwise, there would be no time for the fire poison to be so arrogant. Go and prepare an alchemy furnace. I want the biggest one. Li Zongjiu shouted. Gu Yanhong, who was in a daze, immediately woke up. Li Zongjiu had made his move. The seemingly youngest and least experienced Li Zongjiu was the true master. Not only did he know how to refine pills, he also knew how to treat illnesses. Okay, I'll go right away. The Gu family also had alchemy furnaces. With a command, Gu Man quickly carried an alchemy furnace and walked in. With a clang, she placed it on the ground. It was as tall as 2 people. Such a tall alchemy furnace could be considered a treasure. There was still a difference between an alchemy furnace and a medicinal cauldron. An alchemy furnace was about slow fire. When refining some simple pills in batches, an alchemy furnace would be used. Although it would take a long time, the pills produced in the furnace would be much better. On the other hand, a medicinal cauldron could be carried around by an alchemist. Usually, it was convenient to refine a small amount of pills. If the pills in the market were to be refined one by one, then these alchemists would be exhausted to death. Li Zongjiu opened the lid of the alchemy furnace from a distance. He grabbed the old man and was about to throw him into the furnace. What are you doing? Gu Yanhong hurriedly shouted. This Li Zongjiu looked like he wanted to kill the old man for money. How could he be so rude to this seriously ill old man? If you don't want him to die, then shut up, Li Zongjiu shouted. Hearing Li Zongjiu's harsh words, Gu Yanhong's heart trembled. This guy was young, but his tone was quite arrogant. It was the first time that someone had spoken to her in such a harsh tone. Gu Yanhong was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. However, at this moment, Li Zongjiu was really trying his best to stabilize the old man's injury. Just now, Li Zongjiu had deliberately not made a move to stop him. He wanted to let the old man bleed a little to make him more energetic. However, who would have thought that the idiot would actually use acupuncture to stimulate the old man's last bit of vitality? This was equivalent to a huge loss, which was not worth it at all. It was very likely that it would directly cut off the old man's last breath, which was why Li Zongjiu was so anxious to make a move. Although Gu Yanhong was angry, she did not stop him. When Li Zongjiu threw the old man into the alchemy furnace. At the same time, he took out a few fire attribute medicinal herbs from his space ring and threw them into the furnace, one after another. Fill it with water, Li Zongjiu shouted. In the eyes of ordinary people, this was a shocking scene. Li Zongjiu was going to cook the old man of the Gu family. Chapter 45. At this moment, Old Man Gu's life was in Li Zongjiu's hands. Even if Old Man Gu really wanted to cook him, he could only comply. Gu Man immediately took out a few buckets of water and poured it onto Old Man Gu's body. Even the fearless Gu Man's hands trembled uncontrollably when he did such a rebellious thing. Whoosh! As the water was poured in, the temperature within the pill furnace also became more stable. Although Gu Yanhong and the others could not see Old Man Gu's situation clearly, they could feel that the fire poison seemed to be forced out. The surrounding temperature was also constantly rising. The hall master of the Huichun Hall's face was most likely ruined. He was helped up by one person and bandaged up. However, the other two people were watching the scene in front of them from wooden stools. Li Zongjiu not only did not detoxify the fire, but he also added more and more ingredients. He even continuously threw some herbs that were specially used to increase the fire aura, and some herbs that leaned towards the fire attribute into the furnace. It was obvious that he wanted to cook a good pot of soup. However, they could not say anything. They had already failed once, and could only watch Li Zongjiu do what he wanted. If they accidentally killed Old Man Gu, they might be able to blame it all on Li Zongjiu. When they thought of this, they could not help but feel a little better. Then let's see what tricks you're going to play. They had so many experienced old doctors here, but they could not do it well. How could a mere teenager like you be able to detoxify the fire poison of a third-grade origin beast? Just as Li Zongjiu was cooking Old Man Gu, Gu Yanhong, and the others were watching from the side. Gu Man also clenched his fist. If something happened to Old Man Gu, he would definitely take down Li Zongjiu with a punch first. He would definitely not let Li Zongjiu escape like this. This old man's strength is really strong. Li Zongjiu also felt the terrifying power of the old man from the Gu clan during the catalyzing process. To be able to endure for so many years under such fire poison, the yuan power in his body would only become more and more vigorous. However, the time limit was now up, and he could no longer endure. If there were no accidents, he would not be able to endure for much longer. This was not a one-time eruption, but it was enough to completely destroy him. Since you're so determined, I'll create a new set of fire bones for you. At this moment, the white dragon tattoo on the yuan bead within Li Zongjiu's body seemed to have awakened. Furthermore, as the power of the white dragon tattoo appeared, it also allowed Li Zongjiu's control over the flames to possess the same foundation as in his previous life. So this white dragon soul is not to strengthen my alchemy skills, but to strengthen my mental strength. Li Zongjiu had originally thought that the existence of the white dragon soul would be able to help him improve the refinement of this elixir, as well as the refinement of this elixir. However, now that he had broken through to the origin master realm, he could truly feel the effects of the white dragon soul. It was to increase his mental strength. Based on Li Zongjiu's experience, it had at least doubled. Under such a state, Li Zongjio was able to reforge the body of the old man from the Gu clan with even greater ease.
Boom.
Hot water boiled within the pill furnace. Li Zongjio's yuan power passed through the pill furnace and instantly poured into the old man's body. The terrifying power instantly activated the fire poison. Li Zongjio's mental strength also seeped into the old man's body, controlling the fire poison and continuously tempering the old man's bones. During this process, it was as if someone was peeling open your skin and using a hammer to continuously pound your bones. This kind of cruel strength was simply unbearable for ordinary people. Therefore, even the unconscious old man couldn't help but groan in pain. The reason for that was because this sort of feeling was truly unforgettable and deeply shocking. Godfather, a trace of worry flashed across Gu Yanhong's eyes. Gu Man was also extremely nervous. If something happened to the old man, they would be in big trouble. It was truly careless of them to hastily hand the old man over to Li Zongjio. Now, they could only pray that Li Zongjio would be able to smoothly complete this process.
This is really laborious.
Li Zongjio's mental strength had increased, but under such circumstances, it still took him nearly 2 hours to completely inject the fire poison into the old man's bones. At the same time, the medicinal soup that Li Zongjio had just steamed was able to allow the old man's body to feel a sense of harmony. Through this method, the bones in the old man's body could gradually fuse with the fire poison. Then, it would become an even more advanced energy. This was the fire poison bone. This was a method that Li Zongjio had researched in his previous life. The human body was too malleable, so this kind of fire poison bone was also very effective. It could almost cure hundreds of poisons. Of course, the premise was that you had to have a way to cooperate with the medicinal decoction and a strong mental strength to help the fire poison integrate into the body. This was an extremely important process. Even though this method of fusing and detoxifying had been researched, only Li Zongjio was able to perform it at that time. The rest of the people didn't have such skill and experience. Li Zongjio withdrew his mental strength and yuan power. Even with Li Zongjio's current strength, he still felt a sense of exhaustion and powerlessness. Immediately, Li Zongjio took 2 steps back and sat down cross-legged. He began to circulate the Yuan Sutra to recover his yuan power. This exhaustion was like exhaustion. Gu Yanhong and the others naturally saw it. Is it done? What's the situation now? Gu Man was stunned for a moment. The old man was still being cooked in the furnace. Why was he sitting down? Should he fish him out or add more fuel to the fire?
Boss, you should at least say something.
Sure. Gu Yanhong raised her hand and said, as if she was carefully sensing the movements in the pill furnace. All of a sudden, the yuan power in the entire room. It was as if a boiling river was being pulled by a strange force.
Boom.
Elemental energy continuously surged into the pill furnace from the air. And when the yuan power surged in, it also dragged a long tail. A scorching aura instantly spread out. This was fire yuan power. Isn't the old man using earth yuan power? Why is the fire yuan power so intense? Gu Yanhong's heart was shocked. However, one could clearly feel that old man Gu's originally dispirited aura was gradually becoming vigorous at this moment.
Boom.
The cauldron, which was made of refined iron, instantly shattered into pieces. A bald old man stood in the mist. Chapter 46. Gu Xuanwu looked at his palm in shock. Fortunately, in this mist, the key parts of Gu Xuanwu's body were not seen by others. Seeing this, Gu Man hurriedly threw out a long robe. Old man, even if you have the ability, you can't show off like this. Gu Xuanwu calmly put on the long robe and waved his hand to disperse the mist. He appeared in front of Gu Yanhong and the others. They saw the old man, who was on the verge of death, standing in front of them with a ruddy face. It seemed that he still had a lot of energy to release. This old man's aura was actually so strong. This was an unprecedented state. Godfather. Gu Yanhong could not help but exclaim softly. Gu Xuanwu looked at the two of them. My poison is all gone. And my origin power has improved. Who is it? Which master did you invite to help? Could it be that you have exhausted my Gu family's wealth? Gu Xuanwu suddenly became agitated. In this regard, Gu Yanhong and Gu Yanhong also looked at each other. They also felt a little ashamed of Gu Xuanwu's question. Although they had such determination, they did not do such a thing. Instead, they only invited a few top alchemists from the city. If these words were to be said, they would definitely be strangled to death by Gu Xuanwu. It's Mr. Li who helped detoxify the poison. Mr. Li? Just as he was about to ask who this Mr. Li was, he followed their gaze and saw Li Zongjiu, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. This young man, that was the fire poison of a third-grade golden crystal yuan lion. Even if some third-grade alchemists were to help, they might not be able to detoxify this fire poison. The young man in front of him looked like he had not graduated from a school or something. He could not even be considered an ordinary graduate. What could such a young man do? However, Gu Yanhong and the others' gazes told Gu Xuanwu that this was true. I was the one who saved you. I have already saved you. Now I can ask for my reward. Li Zongjiu opened his eyes and said as he stood up. At the same time, he took a look at Gu Xuanwu. Even though Gu Xuanwu wasn't young anymore, his muscular body was well maintained. If Luoxia City were to hold an elderly body competition, Gu Xuanwu would definitely be able to obtain a good ranking. Since it was Mr. Li Jr. who saved this old man's life, if Mr. Li Jr. has any requests, feel free to state them. As long as it is within the power of my Gu clan, we will not refuse. Mr. Li? Li Zongjiu couldn't help but smile. This old man really knew how to take advantage of his seniority. He even called him Mr. Li Jr. directly. Later, he would let him know what it meant to be powerful. Alright, then I'll get straight to the point. Your Gu clan is good at martial arts, and my Li clan just happens to be lacking a team of bodyguards. Your Gu clan will provide the manpower and effort to form a team of bodyguards for my use, solely for defensive purposes. Furthermore, you must personally serve as the captain. Li Zongjiu pointed at Gu Xuanwu and said. Gu Xuanwu was also taken aback. After Gu Yanhong, who was at the side, stopped speaking, she immediately became angry. This was simply stepping on her nose and actually making such an outrageous request. Asking the old man of the Gu clan to be the head of bodyguards for the Li clan? What virtue does the Li clan have? Mr. Li, on account of the fact that you have saved my foster father, I will not pursue the matter this time around. If you wish to intentionally offend the dignity of my Gu clan in the future, do not blame the members of my Gu clan for being impolite. Gu Yanhong said angrily. At first, Gu Man didn't understand what Li Zongjiu meant. However, after hearing Gu Yanhong's words, he understood. He actually wanted the Gu clan to provide people to be the bodyguards for the Li clan. Moreover, he wanted the old man to personally take action. Exactly what kind of person would have such face to make the old man personally take action? Don't think too highly of yourself. Therefore, Gu Man also looked at Li Zongjiu with a grimace. If necessary, it wouldn't be a problem to directly tear apart Li Zongjiu's bones. Hee. Thank you for thinking so highly of me, Mr. Li. My Gu clan's disciples are good at guarding formations. If the Li clan lacks manpower, then naturally, we can dispatch dozens of disciples to help. However, I have already retired from the world for many years. You want me to take action? That will depend on whether you have the ability to do so. Gu Xuanwu said with a smile. Although he said that he was smiling, it gave people a feeling that he was scheming and cunning, as if he wanted to perform some dirty tricks. Obviously, this Gu Xuanwu had just recovered his strength and wanted to find someone to compare notes with. Since Li Zongjiu was so arrogant, then he would teach him a lesson. One should pay attention when speaking to the old man. Of course, Gu Xuanwu wouldn't kill Li Zongjiu. After all, this Li Zongjiu was his savior. 5 moves. Li Zongjiu said, as he stretched out a palm. After hearing this, Gu Xuanwu couldn't help but smile. In Gu Xuanwu's opinion, this Li Zongjiu wanted to shorten the danger gap. If you can block 5 of my moves, then it's my loss. One had to admit that this Mr. Li was very confident. If he thought that he could block 5 of his moves, by the 3rd move he would teach him how to be a good boy. Old man, why don't I go? Gu Man said in a deep voice. He even had a feeling of eagerness. This Li Zongjiu had already displayed extraordinary strength by killing the Sun Clan's patriarch. Get lost. 5 moves. If you can touch me within 5 moves, then it's my loss. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. This time, old Master Gu Xuanwu was a little angry. So arrogant at such a young age. If he could touch Li Zongjiu within 5 moves, then it would be his win. Wasn't this an insult to Gu Xuanwu? As a retired soldier of the dynasty's Xuanwu army, let alone 5 moves, he was best at defeating the enemy in 1 move. It wouldn't be a problem to kill you in 1 move, but now he dared to say that he could touch you within 5 moves. Alright, if I can't beat you within 5 moves, then I, Gu Xuanwu, swear in the name of a soldier that I will protect your Li clan for as long as I live. Gu Xuanwu said sternly. Hearing this, Li Zongjiu smiled slightly. The atmosphere in the room also became extremely heavy. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall recovered and curled up in a corner with a few old doctors. They realized that in this kind of situation, there was no room for them to speak.
No one even cared about them.
Even if they walked away now, no one would notice. However, they still wanted to see Li Zongjiu being viciously pressed to the ground and beaten up by Old Man Gu. This was the only way to vent their anger. Make your move. Chapter 47.
Li Zongjiu said.
He only had 5 moves to begin with. If Li Zongjiu had tried to delay, he might have been able to withstand the 5 moves. However, Li Zongjiu had allowed his opponent to make the first move, which meant that he had already fallen into a passive state. Allowing such a strong opponent to seize the initiative was an extremely disadvantageous thing for him. However, Li Zongjiu was so arrogant. Originally, Gu Xuanwu was somewhat indebted to Li Zongjiu for saving his life. After all, only he knew about his own injuries. Now that he was full of energy, Li Zongjiu's medical skills must be extraordinary. However, Li Zongjiu's performance was too arrogant. He must have medical skills. He had already begun to have the feeling of looking down on the world. Such an attitude was extremely disadvantageous to the development of a young person. It was necessary to knock Li Zongjiu down a notch and let Li Zongjiu know that there was always someone better than him. Alright, then I'm coming. I hope you can hold on. Gu Xuanwu's gaze suddenly became sharp. It was like 2 sharp knives that had just been unsealed, stabbing towards Li Zongjiu's eyes. This was the sharpness and killing intent that had been honed for many years on the battlefield. Often, the enemy's aura would be completely disintegrated under this gaze. If even the will to battle was disintegrated, then it was as good as putting one's life in the hands of others. However, Li Zongjiu was not moved at all under this gaze. It was as if he did not feel it at all. This kind of aura was just a piece of cake for Li Zongjiu. In the 3,000 years of training in his previous life, what kind of ruthless people had he not seen, and what kind of desperate situation had he not encountered? There was almost nothing that could shake Li Zongjiu's heart that was like a rock. Now that he was reborn, perhaps only the familial love that he had not had the chance to enjoy in his previous life could move Li Zongjiu. The killing intent in his eyes was directly ignored. Gu Xuanwu, on the other hand, was only slightly surprised before he launched his attack. Fierce Wind Earth Pillar Kill. Gu Xuanwu flipped his wrist, and a sharp spike suddenly appeared under Li Zongjiu's feet. It was the soil under the floor that was controlled by Gu Xuanwu's spiritual power. Accompanied by a powerful force, Li Zongjiu was suppressed to the ground.
Boom.
Li Zongjiu was directly pierced through by the earth stake. Even Gu Xuanwu did not expect that he would be able to kill Li Zongjiu with just 30% of his power. It was too fast. Even Gu Xuanwu was not prepared. What if Li Zongjiu died? How would he explain that? When the rest of the people saw Li Zongjiu being impaled by the wooden stake, their eyes widened. However, the expected blood and flesh did not splatter out. Li Zongjiu's figure gradually disappeared from the spot. An afterimage? This time it was Gu Xuanwu's turn to be shocked. On the battlefield, he had seen all kinds of ferocious enemies. There were even some people who used underhanded methods. To Gu Xuanwu, it was very common. He had even seen some crafty methods with his own eyes. Now that he looked at Li Zongjiu, he realized that Li Zongjiu was actually able to silently use this afterimage technique to dodge his attack. This was something that Gu Xuanwu had never expected. Good move. Originally, he thought that Li Zongjiu was a little arrogant. However, it seemed that Li Zongjiu's ability was not bad. Just from that point alone, it was enough for him to laugh proudly among his peers. However, it was a pity that Li Zongjiu was facing a veteran who had been on the battlefield for a long time. A mere mistake would not affect Gu Xuanwu. Instead, it would make Gu Xuanwu more vigilant. Behind, earth-burying earth kill. Gu Xuanwu's reaction was indeed very sharp. In this narrow room, it had already become Gu Xuanwu's territory. Almost every movement could not escape Gu Xuanwu's eyes. Therefore, Li Zongjiu's figure was quickly captured. In an instant, an earth lotus exploded under Li Zongjiu's feet. The stone floor below the ground shattered like an eggshell. At the same time, under the control of the Earth Yuan power, it was like a giant beast opening its mouth and swallowing Li Zongjiu. An afterimage again. Now 2 moves had already passed. Gu Xuanwu still could not even touch Li Zongjiu's clothes. As an old general, this was a great humiliation. You can be proud of yourself among your peers for being able to dodge 2 of my moves. However, with this next move, you will lose without a doubt.
Li Zongjiu could delay.
However, Gu Xuanwu could not delay. He had to take down Li Zongjiu first. When a junior said that he would give you 5 moves, did you really think that he would give you 5 moves? If you really gave him 5 moves and still could not touch him, it would be embarrassing. 3 moves. It was enough to determine the victor. Gu Xuanwu had already changed his method. He completely treated Li Zongjiu as an enemy of the same level. The aura of a Yuan general exploded from his body. In just a breath, the aura in his body had already reached a certain level. Everyone in the room could feel the immense pressure. The stones on the ground, the stones outside the window, and the bamboo leaves. It was as if they were all being controlled by this Yuan power. This is the strongest Yuan skill that I have mastered. Grade 3 Yuan skill, Earth Storm Kill. Li Zongjiu was forced out of his position by this aura and leaned against the corner of the room. Staring at the figure in front of him, Li Zongjiu was shocked. A strong aura gathered around Gu Xuanwu. In the next moment, a terrifying aura exploded from Gu Xuanwu's body, forming a whirlpool. Behind him, sand and stones flew. Countless stones pierced through the door and walls and flew towards Li Zongjiu. If these stones casually touched Li Zongjiu, it would be enough to break Li Zongjiu's bones. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. This was a killing move that covered a large area. If this move was used on the battlefield, there would not be a single person left alive within a 10-meter radius. However, Li Zongjiu did not panic under this move. The footwork he used seemed to bring Li Zongjiu's figure back and forth in the room. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. He passed through the door and walls. The stone pillar in front of him was also smashed into smithereens, almost like a hornet's nest. A load-bearing pillar was smashed into pieces. Li Zongjiu's figure quickly flew out of the window. The house collapsed with a loud boom. Under these 3 moves, Li Zongjiu did not attack. He merely used his footwork and dodged all these moves. Gu Man first threw out the doctors. Then, he smashed the stones in front of him and rushed out. Gu Yanhong's figure also landed on the ground. Gu Xuanwu broke through the pile of ruins and landed in front of the courtyard. At this moment, Li Zongjiu's figure floated down from the bamboo in front of him. His body was spotless. Chapter 48. When Gu Xuanwu saw Li Zongjiu's clean clothes, his pupils shrank. Although he did not believe it, he had to admit that if they were on the same level, Gu Xuanwu was definitely not Li Zongjiu's opponent. Even though Gu Xuanwu was able to suppress Li Zongjiu with his yuan power, there would be a day when Li Zongjiu's yuan power cultivation would surpass Gu Xuanwu's. I admit defeat, Gu Xuanwu said directly. Being a soldier was one of their characteristics. They dared to take responsibility for their actions without hesitation. If they lost, they lost. There was no need to argue about these things. In their eyes, there was nothing shameful about losing. With your skills, you can look down on your peers. However, after entering the Heaven Pass Gorge, the number of young geniuses in the Shengyan dynasty will still be as many as the stars in the sky. Your cultivation talent is not bad, but you must remember not to be arrogant and careless, Gu Xuanwu said immediately. These words were for Li Zongjiu's good. Back then, Gu Xuanwu joined the army. The road he walked and the people he met could be said to have broadened his horizons. In the process, Gu Xuanwu had seen too many young experts. There were even many young experts who had fallen at their most dazzling moment. It was because they were too arrogant and careless. In the end, they died because of their own carelessness. In this small Wuxia city, to be able to see such a talented and capable person like Li Zongjiu, Gu Xuanwu did not want Li Zongjiu to fall too early. He only hoped that Li Zongjiu could go further. Li Zongjiu smiled slightly. There is no joking in the army. Prepare your luggage tomorrow and report to the Li residence. After saying that, Li Zongjiu turned and left. What kind of arrogance was this? It seemed that Li Zongjiu had come to the Gu family to cure Gu Xuanwu and then trick Gu Xuanwu into the Li family to become the captain of the guards.
Such a deep trap.
They had led the wolf into the house. Gu Yan hung, and the others reacted. It turned out that they had also been tricked by this young man. Now, they knew how powerful the young master of the Li family was. Even Gu Xuanwu, who had recovered, could not touch Li Zongjiu within 3 moves. There was no need to complete the real 5 moves. 3 moves were enough. This kid is really arrogant. Gu Xuanwu was a little flustered by Li Zongjiu's cool departure. He was really arrogant. Enough. Foster father, that Li Zongjiu personally killed Mu Yuan in the medicine refining plaza yesterday. After hesitating for a while, she finally went to tell her father about it. Himself? Killed? Himself? That assassin? Was killed by him? They had paid attention to Mu Yuan. After all, he was an expert of this generation. Moreover, the old master liked to help the weak and get rid of such unrighteous people. However, after weighing the pros and cons, they felt that it was too risky to kill him. However, in order to ensure the safety of Wuxia City, they had paid attention to him. Although no one from the Gu family was present at the alchemy competition yesterday, they had sent people to spy on the situation. Naturally, they had to pay attention to such things. Although Mu Yuan's strength had not reached the level of a true rank 1 prime general, it was not difficult to kill an ordinary rank 1 prime general. However, it was not difficult to kill an ordinary grade 1 prime general. In fact, it was even more difficult to deal with than an ordinary grade 2 prime general. This kid actually has the strength to kill a prime general. How did he cultivate?
Who taught him?
Gu Xuanwu instantly felt his hair stand on end. These things were easy to say, but doing it was harder than ascending to the heavens. That assassin, Mu Yuan, had been in the assassin circle for dozens of years. He was very cautious. Countless people wanted to kill him, but he had always escaped. Now, he had died at the hands of a teenager in Wuxia City. I've seen the young geniuses of the capital. Just one of them is enough to block the Xuanwu army's 100-man formation. That kind of heroic spirit is not something we can compare to. However, this young surly Li Zongjiu, I see an unfathomable profundity. This person's future achievements will not be any less than the geniuses of the capital. This was the highest evaluation that Gu Xuanwu could give Li Zongjiu. He had no idea how the geniuses in the capital city cultivated. Pills and elixirs in their left hand and high-level techniques in their right. Combined with extraordinary effort, they had achieved what they were today. If Li Zongjio had been born in the capital, he would have been a hero in the future. This tiny Wuxia city would not be Li Zongjio's final destination. He actually has such a high evaluation. Gu Xuanwu's evaluation caused Gu Yanhong and the others to be extremely shocked in their hearts. There had never been a person in the city who was valued so highly by the old man. Moreover, it was the first time someone had given such a positive evaluation to someone like Li Zongjio. We can't offend the Li clan in the future, Gu Xuanwu said. Although Gu Xuanwu's clan was protected by the Xuanwu army, there were still plenty of people who could move against the Gu clan. The Gu clan had been able to live peacefully for so many years because Gu Xuanwu had always kept a low profile. The Gu clan also adhered to this style. Young master, what's the situation inside? Li Gui asked when he saw Li Zongjio come out. Li Gui couldn't help but feel nervous when he heard some powerful ripples coming from inside, but this was the Gu clan's territory, so he couldn't barge in for the time being. When he saw Li Zongjio come out, he breathed a sigh of relief, but he was also extremely curious about the situation inside. Just what had Li Zongjio done, and what had happened inside? It's nothing. Let's go back. We still have time tonight.
Prepare a horse for me.
I'm going to the Bai clan, Li Zongjio said.
Ah.
Young master, if you're going to the Bai clan, shouldn't you tell the patriarch? There's no need. But although the Bai clan is neutral, the patriarch said that the Bai clan has great ambitions and might attack us. Li Gui couldn't help but feel nervous. In Wuxia city, no one who can harm me, Li Zongjio, has yet to be born, Li Zongjio said proudly. However, Li Zongjio and Li Gui had just stepped out of the Gu clan's gate. Then he saw that someone had already caught up to him. Young Master Li, stop. Young Master Li, stop. The tall and burly man, Gu Man, had already rushed out.
Li
Zongjio stopped and looked at Gu Man, who was running over. The old man said that I should follow young Master Li and be your bodyguard. I should protect young Master Li. It had to be said that with Gu Man's stocky build, it would be a waste of his talent if he didn't become a bodyguard. Just by standing there, he was already very imposing. Bodyguards. Li Gui couldn't help but glance at Gu Man, wondering what had happened inside. He knew Gu Man. Although he looked simple and honest, he was very arrogant. It was said that he had already become a reserve soldier of the Xuanwu army. If he could stand out in the training, he could become an official soldier. Such a person was actually coming to Li Zongjio to be his bodyguard? Wasn't he here to steal his rice bowl? Chapter 49. Alright, let's go to the Bai family, Li Zongjio said. Li Zongjio didn't know what Gu Xuanwu was thinking, but he didn't care. Because no matter what he was thinking, he had to be obedient in the end. When they were halfway there, Li Zongjio told Li Gui to go back and prepare to receive a new team of guards. At the same time, he also had to gather all the guards of the Li family to prepare for a training session. Li Gui didn't know what kind of guards they would receive, but he prepared according to the standard guards. The young lord's words wouldn't be wrong. Li Zongjio and Gu Man walked on the road. Gu Man's strong body attracted a lot of attention. The Bai family was located in a remote place in the north of Wuxia city. It was also very close to the city lord mansion. Riding a horse in the city, one couldn't go too fast. After about an hour, they finally arrived in front of the Bai family's courtyard. The Bai family was the most business-minded and the best business family. The Bai family's courtyard seemed to have become a kind of landmark building. A small part of the Bai family's buildings were open for outsiders to visit, which attracted a lot of people. At the same time, they also had a new and more comprehensive understanding of the Bai family. When the two got off their horses, the Bai family's guards immediately came forward. Do the two of you have an appointment? Appointment my ass. Gu Man of the Gu family. This is the young master of the Li family. Get out of the way. Gu Man immediately stepped forward and roared like a lion from the east. That rough voice caused the ears of the two to ring. When they saw that it was actually the Gu family's brute force king who had come, the two were so frightened that their faces turned pale. The title of brute force king came from a strength competition held by someone in Wuxia city. Gu Man had actually lifted a 3,600-pound cauldron above his head with both hands and stopped there for 10 seconds. A monster with such strength, it was very likely that he could directly tear a person apart. Imagine if a person was directly torn into two halves, what kind of feeling would that be? It was simply unimaginable. However, what made them even more afraid was this made them even more nervous. It was Li Zhongjio. The young master of the Li clan is here.
Please come in.
The clan head said that if the young master of the Li clan is here, please come in. Gu Man looked at Li Zhongjio in surprise. He didn't expect the young master of the Li family to be so famous. Just by saying his name, he could enter at will. Gu Man had never enjoyed such treatment before. Li Zhongjio nodded and walked in.
Lead the horse for me.
Gu Man said bluntly. The young master of the Li family was here. Bai Luoxue had already said in advance that if the young master of the Li family came to visit, he was to inform her. The guard ran forward and was about to inform Bai Luoxue when he accidentally bumped into Bai Ma. Are you blind? How dare you bump into me? Do you want to die? Bai Tianju was hit and instantly flew into a rage. Today, a childhood playmate, a young master from a branch family of a big clan in Flying Cloud City, came to find him to reminisce about the old days. He was about to bring this fellow to the most fun place in Wuxia City. Now that the servant had bumped into her, her mood was ruined. Young master, please spare my life. Young master, please spare my life. The young master of the Li clan is here. The guard immediately knelt on the ground. If he apologized too late, he would probably be crippled. Bai Tianju originally wanted to drag him down and give him a dozen beatings. However, his attention was attracted by the guard's words.
What?
You said that pervert came to our Bai clan? Bai Tianju's expression changed when he heard this. Although the guard didn't know who the pervert Bai Tianju was talking about was, he couldn't think clearly and could only nod his head. Yes, he even brought a burly man. Motherfucker, he's trying to step on my Bai clan's head. He actually dares to bring people to my Bai clan to cause trouble. Brother Wenfeng, please wait for a moment. Let me drive this person away first. Bai Tianju said to the person beside him. This person was called Su Wenfeng. He was also Bai Tianju's childhood friend. However, the Su clan later moved to Flying Cloud City to develop. It seemed that they had developed quite well.
Fine.
Even you hate this person so much. I want to see how crooked his mouth and slanted eyebrows are. Su Wenfeng was also accompanied by a guard. There was quite a distance between the Flying Cloud City and the Wuxia City. If he didn't bring some people with him, then he might really be killed by the bandits. Li Zhongjio. Oh, Li Zhongjio, you finally fell into my hands. If there was a chance, Bai Tianju would definitely choose to eliminate Li Zhongjio. After returning from the Alchemy Plaza, Bai Tianju's mind was only filled with how to get rid of Li Zhongjio. He didn't care about Li Zhongjio's performance in the plaza. After all, Li Zhongjio had so many experts around him. Who knew if there was something fishy going on? Perhaps it was to create an image of Li Zhongjio. In fact, it was all fake. Li Zhongjio and Gu Man sat in the living room. A Bai clan guard followed them. Firstly, it was convenient for the guest to order around. Secondly, it was to keep an eye on the guest and prevent him from wandering around. After all, this was the Bai clan's territory. Even if he was a guest, he wasn't allowed to wander around. Who knew what he would do? The two of you please take a rest. My clan head will be here soon. After the guard went to report, the dignified guard captain, Bai Baqiang, appeared. Bai Baqiang walked out and said. At the same time, he glanced at Gu Man. The two of them were about the same age and had once competed against each other. However, Bai Baqiang's strength and reputation were inferior to Gu Man's. After all, Gu Man was now a reserve member of the Xuanwu army. If he could become an official member of the Xuanwu army, he would really soar to the heavens. Brother Gu Man, long time no see. Why don't you join us? Bai Baqiang glanced at Gu Man, who was standing, and Li Zongjiu, who was sitting. The relationship between the two of them seemed a little unusual. No need. I am young Master Li's guard. It is my duty, Gu Man said without hesitation. As he spoke, he even faintly felt a trace of pride. What was going on? A look of horror flashed across Bai Badong's eyes. With Gu Man's talent and strength, he was actually willing to become someone else's guard. Moreover, Bai Baqiang had heard of young Master Li before. Although he wasn't a hedonistic disciple, he definitely wasn't outstanding either. What ability did he have to make Gu Man become Li Zongjiu's guard? Chapter 50. Gu Man clearly saw the shock in Bai Badong's eyes. However, he didn't care. If Bai Badong knew about Li Zongjiu's strength, he would definitely be as willing as Gu Man. Bai Badong had already notified someone to invite the family head over. However, the family head hadn't arrived yet. Instead, a few figures strode in from outside the house. Based on their imposing manner, it seemed like they were here to send someone off. Li Zongjiu, the Bai family doesn't welcome you.
Please scram.
Bai Tianju said arrogantly as he walked in. When he saw Bai Badong there, Bai Tianju felt even more at ease and became even more arrogant. Bai Badong was the captain of the Bai family's guards. At the very least, he could support Bai Tianju. Li Zongjiu originally wanted to take a sip of tea and wait for a while. However, when he heard Bai Tianju's arrogant words, he shook his head and put down his teacup. Slap him, Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Gu Man was also stunned when he heard this. He had never tried to slap the Sun family's young master before. However, since Li Zongjiu had ordered him to do so, he had to do it. As for the consequences, he would leave it to Li Zongjiu to bear. After all, this matter had nothing to do with him. He was just the one who did it. Slap me? Do you think this is your Li family? Li Zongjiu, you're in my Bai family's territory. You'll have to crawl.
Slap.
Before Bai Tianju could finish a sentence, he pointed at Li Zongjiu and started cursing. Gu Man stepped forward and gave him a resounding slap. With Gu Man's strength, the slap landed on Bai Tiaju's face. Only Bai Tiaju himself knew how painful the slap was. The White Day Colt was sent flying 3 meters into the air. It spun 3 times in the air before crashing heavily onto the ground with a thud. After Gu Man had made his move, he returned to Li Zongjiu's side as if nothing had happened. Obviously, he wanted to blame everything on Li Zongjiu. After all, Li Zongjiu had asked him to do it. Li Zongjiu's expression didn't change. I'll spare your life this time. If you don't keep your mouth clean, I'll cut off your tongue. Li Zongjiu's words carried a trace of coldness. Bai Tianju, who had just woken up, heard the words. When he recalled Sun Qiu's tongue, he couldn't help but feel a chill. He hadn't expected that Li Zongjiu would actually dare to be so arrogant and not give him any face in his Bai family's territory. Bai's faces. Gu Man's move just now had also exceeded Bai Baqiang's expectations. He hadn't expected Gu Man to actually dare to make a move. Gu Man didn't give any face at all. He had directly slapped their young master in front of the captain of the guards. Wasn't this a slap to Qi Huahua's face? How could he tolerate this? Gu Man, you've gone too far. Li Zongjiu, this is my Bai family's territory, not your Li family's. Bai Baqiang growled. His entire body instantly straightened up like a javelin. A sharp aura rushed towards Li Zongjiu. Bai Baqiang naturally knew that Gu Man had made his move because of Li Zongjiu. Therefore, if he wanted to subdue these two, he only needed to deal with Li Zongjiu. In comparison, Li Zongjiu did indeed look easier to deal with. Bai Baqiang, how dare you look down on me? Gu Man shouted. A similar aura blasted towards Bai Baqiang. The auras of the two great Yuan master-level powerhouses clashed, directly forming a Yuan energy storm. At the center of the fluctuation, Su Tianfeng stood on the spot with narrowed eyes. He didn't move at all. Of course, it wasn't Su Tianfeng's own ability. It was a middle-aged man behind Su Tianfeng who was releasing his aura to protect Su Tianfeng. He glanced at the Bai Baqiang who had just gotten up from the ground. Su Tianfeng hinted at the middle-aged man behind him. Immediately, the middle-aged man behind him understood. He took a step forward and suppressed Gu Man with Bai Baqiang. 2 against 1? Just you two clowns. Gu Man wasn't afraid in the slightest when facing the two of them. He even directly faced the aura and charged forward. However, the strength of the two of them was on par with Gu Man. Gu Man also relied on his fierce strength to forcefully resist the attacks. Otherwise, he would probably be defeated within 3 breaths. Gu Man was very clear about this. Right now, he could only hold on for about 20 breaths at most. However, at the 10th breath. On the other hand, Su Tianfeng secretly took action. With a flick of his wrist, he directly threw out a cold arrow that swiftly rushed towards Gu Man. Gu Man was shocked. This sneak attack was the key point. If he were to retreat now, he would definitely be defeated by the 2 people in front of him. Otherwise, he would have to take this arrow head-on.
Ding!
Just as the arrow was about to hit. However, there was a crisp sound. The teacup lid spun rapidly. It actually used the strength of the ceramic to send the spinning cold arrow flying.
What?
When Su Tianfeng saw this, his gaze instantly turned cold as he looked in the direction of Li Zhongjiu. Who was this person that actually dared to compete with him, Su Tianfeng? However, when Su Tianfeng looked over, he didn't see Li Zhongjiu. Instead, he saw a teacup without a lid flying towards him and continuously enlarging.
Bang!
The teacup collided with his forehead and instantly shattered. The impact wasn't very strong. However, the tea in the cup spilled all over Su Tianfeng's forehead. Not to mention the river of water on his face, his meticulously styled hairstyle was also ruined by this splash of tea. However, this wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that there was a sticky liquid on his head. Li Zhongjiu actually spat a mouthful of phlegm in the tea. How could there be such a disgusting person? This made Su Tianfeng, who is seriously obsessed with cleanliness, even want to shave his hair. It wasn't impossible for him to even cut off his scalp. This was because it was really too disgusting. You're courting death. Kill that brat for me. Kill that brat for me. The black-faced middle-aged man and Bai Baqiang's aura shook and sent Gu Man flying. At the same time, they directly rushed towards Li Zhongjiu. The 2 of them stood on the left and right. However, Li Zhongjiu still calmly sat in the same place and didn't move. Stop! Just as the 2 of them were about to capture Li Zhongjiu, a stern shout came from afar. The head of the Bai family, Bai Wuheng, raised his hand and a surge of yuan power directly bound the 2 of them from dozens of meters away. At the same time, his wrists shook and forced the 2 of them back. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.